Good morning, America. God, that sounded cringe. I shouldn't say that. Won't do that again. Let me just make sure that yeah, okay, that's all set up. Should be good to go. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. I hurt my back today. That's how you know you're old. It's not morning anymore? Sure it is. It's 9 a.m. I knew I was old the first time I had to trim my nose hairs. Fair. Fair. Yeah, no, I set up a blanket in the backyard at 4 a.m. this morning. To try to watch the try to watch the meteor shower. And I was there for like 20 minutes, and then I went back to bed. And I woke up and now my back hurts. Serves me right, don't it? Serves me right. How could I have seen the eclipse? I'm not in Europe. Yeah, the Perseids. I saw like 5 and then I called it quits because, which is crazy because, you know, at 4 in the morning I was supposed to see like 100 an hour and I feel like I saw 5. And so, you know, I went out with my wife too. And I feel like I didn't really see very many. What a great nap. I feel totally disoriented and I'm frothing with hate. Good bit. Yeah, it was, I don't know, like maybe I need to figure out a better way to watch the meteor shower next year or something. We had meteor destroying clouds and oh yeah. So in the evening at like 10 p.m. There were all of the clouds were covering everything. But when I got up at 4 in the morning just to check to see if the clouds had moved, I could see like surprisingly many stars. And you know, so it was still nice, even though it hurt, and even though I only saw like 5 meteors. Next year, yeah, well, there will be a next year. The question is what will the world be like next year, right? Although I did see like 5 satellites, which was fairly distressing, actually. You know, like for what it's worth, it is cool to see satellites occasionally, but when you realize that they're ruining the night sky because you see them more than you see meteors, that's a little worrying. Also, the cloud cover to my southwest, I guess. The cloud cover to my southwest was sufficiently illuminated by light pollution that like it wasn't very dark outside, even though there was no moon, even though it was a new moon. So that was kind of crazy. But also, you know, I'm not very far from light pollution. You don't need meteors, we need economic growth. Really? You want to ruin the night sky? Something that humans have enjoyed for thousands of years, are finally destroying? Star Trail photos are going to go, yeah, that's true. It's true and unfortunate, yeah. Yeah, I'm really not fond of, like, I feel like there are better ways to do this. And look, I get it. You know, giving people access to internet, for example, is like a good thing. You know, accessibility is a good thing. But there's got to be a better way. Yeah, the Starlink satellites are everywhere. It is unfortunate. Oh, I can't see the TikTok comments. Let me make sure that I sync them. I was wondering why there were why all the comments were so slow. Can you proclaim, what did this person say? That's because you being a hardcore liberal has taken the Rockefeller science module and proclaiming, can you proclaim perfection in science just like Dr. Anthony Fauci? Reed Michaels, if you want to come up, you're welcome to do so. How do you see satellites and I don't? How close to the stratosphere do you live? You should be able to see satellites. You just have to pay attention, and you have to have a fairly dark sky. You're not going to see it in the middle of a city because you're not going to see any stars in the middle of the city. Okay, well, we do have a guest named Omar. Let's bring up Omar, shall we? Omar, how's it going? It's not even a good troll. It's just like cringe, right? Let's bring up M. M, how's it going?
Hello.
Howdy.
How's it going, Doc? I'm sorry. I completely agree with your point, but I had a question. So I'm not here to debate you, but my question was about how do people make sure that satellites don't collide when they're in orbit?
You just plan the orbit so that they don't collide. And also
But surely they run, because there's so many, they run out of paths, no? Like we have thousands.
The space is far, far bigger than you can imagine.
Right, but orbit is within a certain threshold.
The average distance between satellites is like 1,000 miles.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's like way bigger.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks.
All right. Remember, this is not Ask a Physicist. All right. We have X Cosmic Warrior X. X Cosmic Warrior X. How's it going?
What's up, Blitz? How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Cosmic Warrior. Are you MAGA?
No, I'm not MAGA.
Why'd you join?
Because I just wanted to say my wife's Cash App is in the bio. I'm trying to get her a used car for $2,200 if anybody cares.
I appreciate what you're trying to do. I know you're trying to take care of your own, but it's not the place. Let's bring up Lucas.
Hi there.
Lucas, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Lucas, are you MAGA?
I wanted to talk to you about suborbital flights.
Did you want to talk about the topic? Or nah?
Oh, I just saw you coming up because last time I was kind of waiting like for a while to get through to you, and you
Sure,
kind of mentioned something that I think
fine, but you got to read the background here, right?
Yeah. So is he going to be strictly about?
Yep. Talk to World Cup.
Hello.
World Cup, how's it going?
Fine, bro. I want to ask you, how can I
World
learn
Cup.
physics from
Are you
zero?
MAGA? Not the time or the place. Let's bring up Josh. All right, Josh isn't coming up. Let's bring up Bronson. World Cup, this is not the time or the place. Not the time or the place, my guy. Magoo. My guy, Magoo. Bree Paz, we can bring up. Bree Paz, how's it
So my
going?
husband, so the
Bree
bio
Paz, are you
is
MAGA?
in the Cash App. Bio's in the.
Respect boundaries, my guy. Respect the boundaries. Mods, seize them. That's funny. CA94087. How are 77 million Americans anti-science? Can you please answer? I'd be happy to answer. If you want to talk about it, feel free to come up. Talk to Getty. Getty, how's it going?
Hey, doing good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Getty, are you MAGA?
I am.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you just a few quick questions? It's just for my own interests. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's enough to just give yes or no, and then we can go into the details afterwards if you want.
Okay.
So first, do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
The main cause, no.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to like infants and young children are generally safe and effective?
Generally, yes.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, cool. So I can explain what my background is, like what I'm trying to get at here, if that would be helpful. Obviously, MAGA is not a person, so it doesn't have opinions. But what I'm trying to convey is something that's true about, seemingly true, about the political ideology or the political movement. So I think that we can talk about the anti-science tendencies of a political movement by looking at the tendencies of the people who are part of the political movement, who self-identify as part of that political movement kind of broadly, and then we can also look at the policies that that political movement pushes. And so I would say that when the people who self-identify with that political movement are generally more likely to reject scientific consensus when it's politically inconvenient, I'd say that that's a sign of being anti-science. And I would say that when the policy positions or the policy actions that are taken by that political movement are those things that try to undermine or delegitimize the scientific institutions that produce the politically inconvenient science, I would say that that's another sign of a political movement being anti-science. And so I would just say that both those features match MAGA.
What are some examples? Like, what are your hangups with MAGA?
So there's kind of like 3, maybe 4 big ones when it comes to the kinds of politically inconvenient things that are being rejected. So a big one is climate change. So climate change, like if you go talk to climate scientists, they will all tell you one thing, and then if you go talk to people who self-identify as MAGA, or if you go talk to Donald Trump, they will tell you a different thing. So that's a big one. But I mean, you know, you're on board with that one, so like maybe that's not the right one to go on. Then another big thing is vaccines. So you know, if we go look at all of the data that we have for vaccines, like efficacy and safety and things like that. In fact, there was a study done on like 2 million Dutch children or something, or Swedish children or something, just like a few years ago. These are like overwhelmingly safe. But if you go look at the head of HHS, who was appointed by Donald Trump and who was like, he was appointed by the king of MAGA, if you will. These are things that are dangerous and they should be taken seriously. And we need to, you know, they might have something to do with autism and all of that stuff. And you can go look amongst the people who self-identify as MAGA, and you'll find that they're more likely to reject vaccine safety claims and vaccine efficacy claims. So it's those kinds of things. Other examples would include things like evolution. Of course, that's going to be more religiously tied than not, but even accounting for religion, it's still the case that conservatives tend to be more likely to reject evolution even after you control for religion. So, you know, it seems like that there's at least 3, perhaps 4. A fourth one could be something like the age of the earth or something like that. Kind of politically charged aspects of science that are just rejected because they're politically charged, not because, you know, they think that the science is particularly bad. So that's my issue.
Yeah, I think whenever I think about Republicans or MAGA, you know, whatever you want to call it, that
most Republicans are MAGA, not all MAGA, or no, sorry. all MAGA are Republicans, not all Republicans are MAGA, but most Republicans are MAGA, so they're almost interchangeable. Go ahead.
I agree with you on the evolution part. There's really not a conversation we can have. You know, people just either believe in evolution or they don't. And I would say that more of those people are on the MAGA side. But as far as vaccines, it seems like most people are skeptical of them, and I feel like it's acceptable. Like, what seems to be a common ground between people I know, and then also like just listening to, let's just say, a common sense doctor that you might see on a YouTube on video. They say vaccines are safe, but it's best to wait until your child is as old as possible to give them a vaccine. Now, some people on the left would be like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You can give them a vaccine anytime the doctor says it's okay." And then other people would be like, "Well, you know, wait as long as you can." That seems to be where a lot of people are that I know, and I'm pretty much surrounded by friends and family that are all Trump supporters. But I haven't heard anybody, and I know that they exist, but I don't know anybody that's like, no vaccines, you know, that's just straight up against it. I don't even think you can put your child in school if they're not vaccinated. Do you know if that's correct?
Depends. I think that's a state thing.
Yeah.
But certainly you can put your child in like a charter school or a private school, right? Or you could homeschool. I want to show you something that might be interesting to you. So this is a poll done by YouGov.com. It's generally a pretty reliable polling, and this is just like a whole bunch of political polling. But the one that stood out for me is this one, this chunk of data. So the question is whether vaccines. The question is how safe do you think vaccines generally are? And so if you look, the majority of U.S. adults are going to think that they're either very safe or somewhat safe, right? It's a small minority, 7% say that they're not safe at all. Now, if we go and we look by party ID, what you'll find is that there were no Democrats who said that vaccines are not safe at all. 6% say that it's not very safe. 4% say not sure. 28% say somewhat safe. 60% say very safe. So already we see a difference between Democrat and Republican, right? So Republicans just tend to think that vaccines are less safe. That is borne out in the statistics. So, you know, you have 88% of Democrats think that vaccines are either somewhat safe or very safe, whereas something like 63% of Republicans do. But if you go look at the not safe at all category, what you'll find is that like Republicans and then independents make up almost all of the not safe category, right? And interestingly enough, it's specifically MAGA Republicans that are more likely to think that vaccines are not safe. And so this is the kind of thing that worries me, because it doesn't seem like this is actually based on any scientific evidence. In fact, when you go look at the scientific evidence for these things, it's like vaccines are indeed extremely safe. In fact, it's generally oh, he left. Where'd he go? God damn it. When did he leave? Running from data? Okay, well, we did our best. Had to return some DVDs. But yeah, so by the way, this is just it's an interesting point that, like, in fact, not only is it Republicans that think that vaccines are less safe than what we would expect from the scientific data, it's actually MAGA Republicans that are specifically less likely to think that vaccines are safe. And in fact, this vaccine hesitancy spiked among Republicans. Here's another interesting chart. Let me see if I can find it. It's somewhere here. Vaccine hesitancy happened as a result of COVID, right? So the question is do you think vaccines are more dangerous than the diseases they're designed to prevent or not, right? And so Republicans were pretty much in lockstep with Democrats up until 2019. And then in 2024, it tripled for Republicans. Like, this is not like, oh, they're more carefully examining the data or whatever. Like, this is because of COVID. It's like COVID conspiracy brain rot, right? And this isn't asking about the COVID vaccine. This is actually asking about vaccines generally. Like, that's really worrying. Anyway, let's read a few super chats because we have a few, and then we'll bring up another guest. From Dr. Joe, Executive Sober Coach, thank you for the $5, bud. Here's some money to buy these guests some boundaries, if only. If only. And Dr. Joe, yeah, I appreciate you correcting yourself. Otherwise, I would have had to do it. All right, let us bring up Ritus. Ritus, how's it going?
Is there anything I can do to help? You've already saved my life, Mr. Calloway.
All right, let's talk to Country Hound Dog. Country Hound Dog, how's it going?
How's it going, Dr. Blitz? I'm doing good.
Okay. Glad to hear it. Country Hound Dog, are you MAGA?
Well, I did vote for Trump, yes.
Would you do it again?
For a third term, no. Our laws prevent that.
So, okay, let me rephrase. Of course, I understand that, yes, that is the case. If you could go back in time, would you change your vote?
No, I would not.
Okay.
But
do you mind if I ask you just a few quick questions before we jump in?
Yeah.
And they're just like, they can be as simple as like yes or no questions. Like, we don't have to go into the details if you don't want to. First,
Okay.
Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Give me a second to. I want to make sure I say this right. A lot of things we do, yes, and mostly because where we build cities, we create heat columns, and that does interfere with our weather.
Okay, so you'd say yes.
That's a known fact.
Well, I'm not talking about weather. I'm talking about climate change.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Okay,
well, if
that's cool.
weather is affected, it affects climate change, yes.
Okay, do you think that humans are sorry, not humans. Do you think that vaccines that we typically administer to young children are generally safe and effective?
Yes, I do. And however,
Okay.
I do have some, that's where I wanted to talk to you about.
We
okay?
can. I just want to get through these questions and then we can get in there. Do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yeah, yes, to an extent, but there is always one question nagging on my brain,
Mhm.
and that is, according to science, you can't create something from nothing. So
Sure,
where
but
did
that's
where
not
did
real.
the first something come from?
Sure, and we could get into that if you want to, but I just wanted to make sure that I get the questions answered properly. So, look, did you overhear the what I was talking about, like what I meant by MAGA as anti-science?
Yes, I heard part of it. I didn't catch all of it. I heard a lot of it. You were showing the don't want to run out of my head, the charts.
Yeah, okay, so, but what I mean by anti-science is just that, like, MAGA people have this tendency to reject, and I'm not saying, like, it's like a character flaw or whatever. I'm just saying, like, if you ask people who are MAGA, those people have a tendency to reject science if it's politically inconvenient more frequently than the rest of the population does. And on the policy side, the policymakers who are MAGA think like people like Trump think like people like some of the Congress people, some of the cabinet members. Policymakers seem to delegitimize and undermine institutions that produce scientific research that's politically inconvenient. So think like shutting down a science lab if it produces science that you don't like, that kind of thing. So that's what I mean by anti-science, and hopefully that's clear. I'm not saying literally every single MAGA person is like hates science. I mean something specifically. So what did you want to talk about?
That is, you were clear about that, and you're right about it. You know, there and both sides, both parties have done that, unfortunately. But on the vaccine thing, I'm not anti-vaccine. And you're right. Most vaccines are inherently safe and have helped the human population grow.
Mm-hmm.
My drawback to vaccinations, okay, and I had doctors get mad at me over this, over my kids. And I told the doctors, I said, you can kiss my behind, but I said it not so nicely. Okay, I said, this is my son. You will do it how I want it done, or you won't do it. Okay, and I would go to another doctor. And what it was is, I've seen, and when they brought the first vaccine, it had like.
Are we talking about like the MMR vaccine? Which vaccines are we talking about?
Yeah, MMR, all the vaccines that children get when they're young.
Yeah. Okay. What about them? Which one were you talking about?
The first one he got, he had only had like 4 different things in it, and then as it progressed on, they started to. I was looking at them and asked them. I said, "How many different vaccines are in this one shot?" And at one point, they told me 15 vaccines in one shot.
Are you sure?
Yes, because
I'm looking at the recommended vaccination schedule from say, and what year was this? Just so then I can,
I was living in Tennessee, and this
what year was this?
That was, or actually no, that wasn't in Tennessee. That was in the state of Ohio, and that was during 2006, 2007.
All right, let's go see if we can find the 2006 vaccine schedule. Yeah, okay, here we go. So I just pulled up the 2006 vaccine schedule. So this is what was recommended by the CDC, or maybe it's not, yeah, the CDC, and we can just go look what was on the vaccine schedule at the time. So here it is. You can tell it's old. It's definitely from 2006. So at birth, the only recommended vaccine was hepatitis B.
Right.
Only recommended vaccine at birth. Between the first and second month, I guess you get a booster. Oh no, I'm sorry. I guess that these are the allowed times, but the recommended age for hepatitis B is between 1 and 2 months. And then there are 4 other vaccines that you get at 2 months, or that you can get as early as 2 months. This is diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. That's 3 vaccines in one shot. There's the hemophilus. Sorry?
Those are all good vaccines to have.
Yep. Then there's Haemophilus influenzae type B. Then there's the polio virus, and then there's PCV, which is the pneumococcal vaccine. So like the first vaccines that you get, none of them have 15 vaccines in them. In fact, there weren't even 15 vaccines total. There were 10.
Right. In the beginning, it was only a couple at a time. I think the first shot had like 4. I think it was about 2. But anyways, as it progressed on, when he was about 4 years old. And
so okay, this would be 2010.
I did ask him. I said, "How many vaccines are in that?" Because it was just simply he was getting hit with every time I took him to the doctor.
Okay, here's the 2010. So when he was 4, like 2010, this is the vaccine schedule. So in 2010, this is the schedule for between 0 and 6 years old. So this would have been where your child falls. There were only a total of 11 vaccines that were even on the schedule.
I know. All I can tell you is what the doctor told me. He said there was like 15 that was in that one vaccine. I said no. And I told him, and he started to get mad at me. And I told him, I said, no, you ain't hitting him with that.
Okay, but do we agree that there weren't even 15 vaccines that existed in 2010 that were suggested for children?
Like I said, that is what the doctor told me, and that's why I had a fit about it. Yes, I'm sure, and that's why I had a fit about it, because it wasn't that I didn't want him vaccinated. I just didn't want him hit with all of them at one time, because I believe it overloads their system.
I have a hard time believing that your doctor was suggesting to give you 15 vaccines at once when there weren't even 15 vaccines recommended by the CDC.
I can just tell you what the doctor told me. I mean, and
could you have misunderstood?
No, he was very clear about it.
Okay. Do you know what any of these vaccines were?
I bucked against it.
Do you know what any of these vaccines were?
No, I wouldn't let him give him the shot. I refused. I told him you can break it down into smaller doses with fewer vaccines within each shot, or I'll take him elsewhere.
Is there anything that you can remember about this except the number 15?
What
were the diseases for that the vaccines were supposedly there to prevent?
It was just the general vaccines he had to have in order to start school.
But okay, and what state was this in?
It would have been 2010, and at that point I was actually living in Tennessee.
Okay, so Tennessee vaccine school requirements. Let's look.
So, but when I bucked against the doctor about it, he did break it down into 3 shots.
Okay, so this is effective July 1st, 2010. Tennessee approves new childhood immunization requirements. So the new 2010 requirements apply to those who attend childcare, preschool, and school, and changes coming in 2011 affect new Tennessee child. Okay, that's fine. So I actually want to see what the requirements are. A complete list of the new immunization requirements, as well as information for parents, is available here. Okay, let's go here. I don't know why it didn't take me to the actual website. Go to the actual website and check it out. Go to. But so here's examples of the changes that are going into effect. This was in 2010. Children enrolling in childcare, preschool, or pre-kindergarten must now show documentation for Hep A, Hep B, and pneumococcal vaccine. Okay, so that's 3 vaccines. All children entering the 7th grade, that didn't apply to your child. Children and teens younger than 19 who have 10 care, as well as those who do not have health insurance, can receive free vaccines. Okay, so that website's dead. We can go see if we can find the actual Tennessee specifics, though, somewhere else.
I'm not against vaccines. It's just I'm against.
It's just your story doesn't add up.
So.
Okay. Yeah, this is from the state of Tennessee Department of Health Immunization Program. So let's look. Who is required to, so these are the requirements for student enrolling in higher education institutes in Tennessee after 2011. So you need MMR, you need varicella, you need Hep B, and then there's some valid exemptions. But it doesn't look like they're actually instituting more extra vaccines on top of the ones that were required by the CDC.
He ended up taking 3 shots.
It sounds like you might just be misremembering. Yeah, okay, so this is from 2010. The children in childcare facilities, that wasn't your child. Children entering kindergarten must have diphtheria, so DTaP. They have to have Hep B, they have to have polio, they have to have MMR, they have to have varicella, and Hep A. So those all sound like they were on the CDC's recommended list. Children who are new enrollees, it's the same list. So this is, DTP, or DTaP, that's 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a total of 10 diseases. And these are all different vaccines, of course. So, I don't know, man. Something about the story's not lining up.
I just know when I asked the doctor, that's what he had said, and I bucked against him. And all I did was make him break it down into fewer vaccines per shot.
So
that was my only thing.
If you think, do you think it was the official policy to do one 15 vaccine shot?
I don't know. I just know that's what when he came in, was one of the things I asked.
Because how would he break it down if it's he doesn't formulate the vaccines, he doesn't mix them himself? How would he do that?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know that I ended up taking my son back on 3 different dates to get 3 different shots. And they were all vaccine shots in order for him to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. There's you could get between the ages of 4 and 6, you could get, the DTaP vaccine, you could get the IPV vaccine, you could get the yearly influenza vaccine, flu shot. You could get the MMR vaccine, you could get the varicella vaccine, you could get Hep A, you could get PPSV, you could get MCV, and you could get these on different days. But these are all separate vaccines. They're not in one shot. So I don't know, man. It just seems like that.
Well, my granddaughter right now, the last time she went to the doctor, it was 6 vaccines within 1 shot, and we have at the house.
Which 6 vaccines?
Kentucky.
Okay, and this was recent.
She's 8 months.
What year was this? This was 2025.
It may have been boosters. It may have been boosters within that on her.
So the
may have been boosters.
So this is the 2025 vaccine schedule. Again, this is from the CDC. It's federal. It's not on a state by state basis.
Okay.
And so up until 6 months or up until 9 months, which your granddaughter is not yet, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vaccines that are recommended, and I guess most of those are boosters. Most of those you've already gotten.
Right. Okay, and I just said that part of that may have been boosters.
But not one of them had 6 vaccines in it, right? DTaP has 3, and that's the only one that has multiple, I guess, for like multiple different diseases.
I know she was hit. She was given the 6 vaccines at the same time. If they were in different shots, but nonetheless, still 6 vaccines
Yeah,
in one city.
Yeah,
And that's where I have a problem.
what's the problem?
To me, and it's like, to me, it just seems like it's overloading the child's body.
On what grounds?
If you get one vaccine, your body has to fight it off. But when you get
depending on the vaccine, you don't have to fight off anything. If the vaccine's an active vaccine, then that means that it's like a partially weakened virus, and then your body does have to do that. But if it's not an active vaccine, and we could go check which vaccines are active vaccines, I suspect not many, then you don't have to fight off anything. There's nothing to fight off.
Like I said, I'm not anti-vax, but I don't want to give them all at one time. I think it just overloads the child's body.
But that's not based on anything, right? It's just based on like vibes.
I mean, I don't have any scientific evidence. I can't give you. I am not sitting at a computer, so I can't go pulling things up.
I'm just checking which vaccines are live attenuated. So MMR, varicella, rotavirus, and LAIV. Although LAIV is just a flu virus. So of the vaccines that are live attenuated, at least according to the CDC, the MMR, varicella, and rotavirus are, and that would account for of the vaccines in 2025. That would account for one of the vaccines. That's it. It's only rotavirus. Rotavirus is the only one that's given before, the only activated vaccine that's given before 6 months, I guess.
Okay,
there's nothing to fight off. Like, I mean, well, okay, one of the vaccines needs to be fought off in some sense, but the rest are inactivated.
Some of the things I have read is these are things I've read, and no, I've not found no scientific evidence to prove it. Okay, but there have been other doctors that have said the same thing, that too many vaccines at once is not good, and they believe that is actually causing some of the autistic problems in children.
Oh, there's no evidence to support that.
I've not seen no evidence to support that.
So why would you say it?
It is something I wonder about. And
fortunately, there is evidence that says the opposite. So I can show you something that you might find interesting.
What is wrong with erring on the side of caution?
Well, there's no caution to be had, right? There's no caution to be had regarding vaccines and autism. Like, this is this came out of the this is Danish outlet, but like there was a study that was done in Denmark where they studied over 1 million children and found no increased risk of autism, asthma, or autoimmune diseases in vaccinated children. Like, it's just there's no worry to be had. There's no increased risk.
We erred on the side of what we thought was caution.
But caution against what? That'd be like saying, well, look, I'm not going to go to the grocery store on Thursdays because somebody told me that on Thursdays, Tyrannosaurus Rexes come and eat people at the grocery store. Like, that's not erring on the side of caution. That's just believing some like batshit crazy person.
Well, I mean, when it's doctors that are publishing this stuff, I mean...
Can you tell me which of these doctors are publishing this? Because they should lose their medical license.
It was doctors I read, where I went online and read about it. It's been a long time ago. I don't have all the evidence, and I don't have the scientific evidence. I've admitted that.
Okay, but do we agree that the scientific evidence says that there is no link between autism and vaccines?
According to the evidence you're showing, you're right.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, like I said, when I read things that are by doctors, we chose to err on the side of caution. And what we felt was the side of caution.
But what about the caution of keeping your children safe from, deadly diseases?
Well, and that's why we still went and had the vaccines done. We just made them break it up, or, we made sure the vaccines were given separate, and they weren't what we felt was being overloaded. We are we
You,
as
you
the
keep saying
parents
overloaded. It's like
have,
not a thing to be worried about, right?
we as the parents are the final say in our children.
Of course you are. It doesn't mean that you're not making a bad decision.
You know, so, and well, I mean, we didn't make a bad decision. We just we
Well, no,
went
I mean,
the route
I mean,
that
like,
we thought was
I,
best.
I'm glad that you got your children and that your grandchildren got all of their vaccines. I think that that's great. I think that you're doing a good service for your children. But the point is like having a degree of vaccine hesitancy or vaccine skepticism is like generally a bad thing, because it's the kind of thing that leads to people not really trusting it and then not doing it, right? And I hope we agree that things like the polio vaccine are extraordinarily good for the world, right? Things
Well, I
like
mean,
the
I've been
MMR
overseas.
vaccine, extraordinarily good for the world, and yet we're seeing a measles outbreak because people aren't getting the MMR vaccine.
Yep.
And so, like, you know,
I've been overseas. I was in the military. The one that we get on our left shoulder, it went right out of my head. Leaves a scar.
that was a chickenpox vaccine, and you would get that if you were like 10 years or ish older than me.
No, this wasn't the chicken pox.
Smallpox? I don't think that you're so old that you would have gotten the smallpox vaccine.
Being overseas, yeah, that's the one that leaves.
Oh, maybe you did.
Leaves a scab, and the scab has to fall off. So yeah, I think it was smallpox.
Okay, so a guest in my live, I have to remove you. Says that he was something for misinformation, blah, 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 blah. If you want to come back on another account, you can. Sorry about that. I thought that you were doing okay. I guess actually maybe you can just come back up now. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. It's just TikTok is like, blah, 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 your guest has been flagged for misinformation. Remove him or else. But something that I would just recommend, Country Hound Dog. You seem like a nice guy. You seem like you're just worried about your kids. All I would say is like, just like go check what like most scientists or most doctors say about something, and if most doctors say it, then it's probably true about your health, right? That's the point. Like, don't rely on just like a single doctor. Go look at what most doctors are saying, and that will give you a better shot of knowing what's true. All right, let's read some super chats and we'll bring on our next guest. From Ethan Wallace with the $5. Ethan says, is caller referring to Vaxneuvance? It's the only vaccine with 15 mentioned in it I can find. I have no idea. Let's find out. Vaxneuvance. It's a 15-valent pneumococcal conjugate vaccine manufactured by Merck. Okay, so I guess that it's PCV 15, which is recommended, by the way, but it's not for 15 different diseases. It's for 15 variants of the same disease, right? 15 specific serotypes of Streptococcus pneumoniae. Which, you know, it's one disease, just 16 different like slight differences between them. So that's kind of weird that would be considered 15 different vaccines. Maybe the doctor was saying, oh yeah, there's 15 different variants, and so this contains 15 different, like it can fight off all 15. And then maybe Country Hound Dog took that to mean that there's like 15 different diseases. That's a possibility. Yeah, maybe. And from Dr. Joe, Executive Sober Coach, thank you for the $5 again. Hey, I might need some of that super chat money back for Tylenol. I'm developing a headache. Well, look, if you were developing a headache, then you wouldn't have sent the $5. But I do appreciate it. Yeah, okay, so Country Hound Dog has confirmed. That's it. Well, but that's not 15 different diseases. It's like when you get a flu shot, it's 4-valent, right? But it's the flu isn't 4 different diseases. It's like one vaccine, right? And also, yeah, that's actually a good point. This is not the kind of thing that can be broken up either. This is like one liquid. Oh, it's trivalent? Flus are trivalent these days? Okay, good to know. Anyway, let's bring up another guest. Let's bring up Cecil Fergelmeyer. Cecil Fergelmeyer, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, of course. Cecil, is it Cecil or Cecil?
Cecil?
Okay, Cecil, are you MAGA?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do you mind if I ask you just a few quick yes or no questions, just for my own edification before we start? Cool.
Okay.
One sec, I just gotta write your name down. This isn't public information, it's just my own curiosity. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
When you say climate change, are you talking about catastrophic climate change?
I'm talking about what has subsumed what we called global warming 20 years ago.
I'm
so
skeptical.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm not a denier. I'm a skeptic.
Okay, sure. Do you think that humans? Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to young children and infants are generally safe and effective?
Generally, they are.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right, so were you here when I was explaining what I meant by MAGA as anti-science?
No.
Okay, yeah, I can clarify if that would be helpful.
Only if it's necessary. I think I get the gist of it.
I mean, roughly the idea is that MAGA individuals have a tendency to reject politically inconvenient scientific consensus more frequently than other political groups do. And MAGA administrators, MAGA kind of top tier MAGA dogs like Donald Trump and the various members of the cabinets and various Congress people and so on. These people tend to seek to delegitimize and or undermine those scientific institutions and procedures that we use to produce scientific data that becomes inconvenient for them, politically inconvenient. So that's what I mean. It's kind of like a two-pronged approach that it involves both at the policy level and at the population level.
Okay.
So what did you want to talk about?
My contention is that, well, first off, everyone who's on the right is not religious, but for the sake of argument, let's refer to them as the religious right.
Mm-hmm.
My contention is that those on the left in the media and just your standard woke leftist are just as religious as the religious right, but instead of worshiping God, the folks on your side worship people in lab coats and science, and they go with the group think. They always go with the group think, so science really becomes a cult. I can give you a perfect example. When the pandemic hit back in 2020, it seemed like it was a month or two went by, and they were already saying, the scientists were saying,
go ahead.
They were saying it appears that this new virus mostly goes after, or mostly harms, let's say, older individuals with coexisting, conditions.
Mm-hmm.
They said it doesn't appear, they were cautious, but it doesn't appear that small children and children are particularly affected by this. Well, then a few months goes by, and that proved to be pretty much true. I remember a year.
So wait, how is this a cult?
Well, let me finish. I remember a year into the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
In the state of California, where there's like 40 million people,
mm-hmm.
only one child had died of it a year later, and that child was 17 and had a coexisting. So my point is that the science came out and said the children aren't as susceptible as it's a good thing. But what did you guys do? You closed down all the schools regardless. So that's a religious.
What does that have to do with the science?
Well, you guys didn't follow the science. The science didn't.
Wait, did the science say that you shouldn't shut down schools?
No, the science.
Or did the science just say that it's not it's not going to be particularly lethal to children? Because look, I think that probably in retrospect, keeping schools closed for as long as we did was probably a mistake. I think that that's something that we learned after the fact, and it probably wasn't necessary.
Well, you guys learned after the fact. But, we on our side, hold on. But you guys had to learn the hard way.
But there is you can understand that even if kids aren't susceptible to being dangerous, kids aren't particularly in danger from the disease, they can still spread the disease, right? And so if your goal is to reduce community transmission, then you would want to keep people as isolated from one another as possible. So so shutting down the schools would be a good way of doing that, so that people who are affected would be less likely to get infected.
But
Surely
yet
you
it
can
was the
understand the
wrong
motivation,
decision.
right?
Well, yeah, but motivation can be corrupted, and the teachers unions.
But surely,
are the
but
ones
this isn't some claim about like the left being religious about science. This was a policy decision, and the policy decision we didn't really find out until a few years down the line that this was going to like be seriously
we knew
negative.
A couple months. We knew within a few months that the children.
Not really. I'm not talking about the children. I'm talking about the
Well,
effects,
that's what I'm
the long-term.
about.
I'm talking
my
about the long-term
example.
effects on
You guys closed
education.
down all the schools against science. You guys
Wait,
closed
what?
down all the schools.
The science didn't say that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, Anthony Fauci did. He pushed it.
Sorry, was there scientific evidence that we shouldn't close down schools? That this is like, that this will cause disease or something?
It.
Okay, what was the scientific evidence that we shouldn't close down the schools?
You agreed with me that the children weren't particularly susceptible.
That doesn't mean that you
And
shouldn't close down the schools.
In retrospect, you said in retrospect, well, that's an admission that you guys effed up on this.
I'm not saying
Anytime
that.
you say
I'm
in
not saying that-
retrospect,
Wait.
we had the retrospect back then because we were following the science.
Cecil,
You guys weren't.
Cecil, I don't know what you're understanding or not understanding here, but my point is given the data that was available at the time, if you're worried about community transmission, then shutting down schools makes sense, even if children are not at particular risk. Because children might not be at risk, but they could still spread it to older adults who are at risk. Now, the question is whether it was worth it to shut down the schools to reduce transmission in comparison with the amount of damage that it would do to long-term learning outcomes. And so it turns out that in retrospect, the long-term learning outcomes were significantly negatively affected, more so than anybody expected. And the advantage gained, more
so than you guys suspected.
Well, more so than like educational.
It was bad. We were
more so
fighting
than
the
like
closing of the
educational
schools from the
professionals.
beginning.
You were
So,
fighting the closure of the
retrospect is
schools
just
because
a
you
good way
didn't.
for you to admit that you were wrong.
Cecil,
Just
why
admit
don't
your side was wrong about
Cecil,
this.
why can't you actually let me finish the sentence?
Go ahead. Sorry.
You have some patience. Look, there was scientific data. You're right, and this is 100% true. Scientific data that the people most likely to be killed or significantly injured were going to be people who are older, who have comorbidities. We agree on that. Nobody was ever
That's why
saying
you
other.
should
Nobody
have
was
retired those teachers.
Nobody was
Instead
ever
of, shutting down the schools.
I thought you were
why not
going to
retire
not cut me
those
off.
teachers?
I thought you weren't going to cut me off. I thought you were going to let me finish the sentence. Cecil, have some patience, okay? Have some restraint. So,
My lunch
100%
break's
agree with you on
almost
that.
over.
100% agree with that. The point is that there is a balancing act that was made with regards to policy, which is, look, we want to prevent the spread of this disease, but we also don't want to hurt children. And they made the wrong decision. This wasn't based on science. That's the point. They were taking into account the science that this has the capability of hurting older folks, and they wanted to prevent that. They wanted to use the science. They took the science that they knew, and they wanted to try to take actions based on that science. And the decision that they made based on that science to shut down schools, in retrospect, was much more harmful to children's educational achievements than people expected.
In other words, you guys were wrong.
Yeah, about the educational
We were
educational
right,
impacts.
you were wrong.
Absolutely.
We said don't close down the
But
schools.
that has nothing to do with science.
And then, like you said, in retrospect, you see that you guys were wrong.
Can you summarize back to me what I said, just so I can make sure you understood?
Okay, you're saying at the time we were following the science, so even if we came to the wrong conclusion, that's no fault of ours because we were following the science at the time. Did I get that pretty much?
No,
The gist
not
of
at
it?
all. No. The point is that there were two things that we had to that were in conflict with each other: educational success and preventing transmission. We wanted both, and the goal was to try to not hurt educational success so much, but also prevent transmission. We were wrong about how much educational success would have happened, or how much educational success would have been harmed. That wasn't known, and we only found that out over the last few years as these kids have gone on to high school, college, and so on. That COVID has had a significant negative effect on them, the COVID schooling. But the point is that this is not a scientific issue. This is not people rejecting science. This is not people believing in a cult of science. This is an issue of basically predicting the future incorrectly.
Okay, I guess you can see it that way. I see it a little bit different, but let me move on to my second point because I've got examples of how the left does this all the time.
But wait, so
I
to be
already
clear,
conceded-
do we agree? We do agree that we're talking about MAGA here, right?
I guess you are. You like to think everyone in MAGA is anti-science. I'm MAGA, and I'm not anti-science, so it's hard for me to argue from the position of MAGA.
I just want to
believe
double
in
check.
science.
I just want to double check. You're MAGA and you're not anti-science. Do you think that but you don't think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
I'm skeptical about that, but
Okay,
you
so-
can't even.
so-
First off, you won't define climate change. I'm asking you if
Sure
it's
I will.
catastrophic.
Catastrophic is saying how bad it is. Whether it'll be extremely bad or not depends on what we do.
Okay.
I can
I'm sure you'll
define
get
climate
this.
change for you if you want.
You're I've been reading about climate change for 20 years. That's just all
You're
the-
cutting out a little bit.
They just keep coming out with these predictions.
Can you
I'm
give
cutting
me
out.
Can you give me 2 examples of major predictions in the last 30 years about climate change that were wrong? Like of major climate models that made wrong
Well, all
predictions?
these climate models they use all the time.
Sorry, you're cutting out again. Can you try again?
When my daughter was born in 2000,
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with your audio, but like your audio is like cutting in and out a lot. Let me see if I can pull it up. Because I have a lovely source
can you
for
hear me
this.
now?
I think so. Yeah. You sound okay.
Dr. Blitz, can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure can. Yeah.
Okay. What is when climatologists talk about future predictions,
Mm-hmm.
what do they mean by the climate equilibrium?
So
The climate
the
sensitivity equilibrium.
climate sensitivity equilibrium, I don't know what that phrase in that order means. But when we're talking about equilibrium, what we mean is the steady state. So what kind of what the things like temperature and humidity and air pressure, these kinds of things, how they will settle if we don't change anything. That's what an equilibrium
Okay.
system is.
Okay.
Now-
and so when you talk about that,
Yeah, go ahead.
we can start talking about negative or positive feedback loops, correct?
Yep, absolutely, we can. But
Okay.
so if you have a positive feedback loop, you won't stay near your original initial conditions, right?
Right. Like if we had a positive feedback loop with the climate and CO2 was causing it to warm up and then the feedback kicked in and it just kept getting warmer and warmer and warmer, that would be a bad thing, right?
It would be a bad thing, yeah.
But there's no proof that that's what's happening. In other words, we don't
Oh, you
know
don't
what
think
the
so?
threshold is. We don't know what the threshold is.
Sure, that's
How
fine.
much CO2 is in the environment right now in the
It's,
atmosphere?
in the atmosphere, it's like 450 parts per million or something like that.
So like 0.04%, right?
Yep, it's small in percentage scales. By
So
the way, I just
most
want
climate-
to show you
I'm sorry,
something really
go
quick. Because I did ask for if you could give me 2 examples of climate models that were published in the last 30 years that made wrong predictions. And it sounds like you couldn't.
Oh, I could. I'd have to get to my computer and pull up Tony Heller's webpage. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
No, I have no idea who he is. But here's an interesting thing. I don't know if you can see this. So this was put out in 2019 by UC Berkeley, and they examined 17 major climate models published between the early 1970s and the late 2000s, and 14 were quite accurate in predicting the average global temperature in the years after publication. Now they actually go into more details, and it turns out that of the 17, 1 was wrong. 2 were wrong because they basically couldn't predict the future. And then 14 were right and they exactly predicted the future. So the 2 that were wrong, they basically didn't take into account things like the Montreal Protocol, which was like a global agreement that's cut CFC emissions. And so, if they cut CFC emissions, how could the modelers have predicted that with regards to their climate forecast? Yeah. But the point is that like if you cut CFC emissions, which is also I believe it's a potent greenhouse gas, then you're going to make wrong predictions. So the point is that of the 17 that they examined, these are major climate models since I think since the mid 70s. 16 of them had perfectly good physics in them. 1 of them got it wrong. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe it for a second. But
Do you want to see the paper? I can show you the paper.
no, not really, because I don't have I'm not at my computer and I can't read my phone.
But you can wait. You can't look at your phone.
Well, I can't. It's too small. Like your chalkboard there, I can't see what's on that.
What chalkboard?
Hold on. Oh, okay. My phone. Yeah, I'm
You weren't
gonna
even
have
looking
to,
at your screen.
Yeah, no, I thought I was on the right screen, but I wasn't. But here's my question though. Okay, so I think they use a formula. They say how much will the temperature increase if we double CO2s before the Industrial Revolution, which I think was 270 parts per million. So the formula that they use is if we go from 270 to what 540 would be the double.
Yeah, that would be double
they
270.
They predict that if you double the CO2,
Who
it'll
predicted?
huh?
Who predicted this?
It's like the general consensus among the. Are you not familiar with how they calculate what the risk might be? I mean,
So it's not just that there's like a simple formula. You plug in CO2 and then you get a temperature out.
well, I know that, but what I'm saying is, for prediction purposes, they use a formula where they say if we double the CO2 to 540, it's going to raise the temperature by 1 degree. Some people say it might be 3 degrees. I've heard people go up to 5 degrees, but the range.
So then it's not a formula then. It's not a formula if it has a range.
Okay, yeah, you forgive me. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a scientist. I consider myself a science historian, and I'm even amateur at that. So I really don't. But I've been reading about it for a long, long time. And the thing I've gathered is that the climate sensitivity is basically they want to know how much the temperature will rise if we double CO2. And that seems to be a pretty good formula because we're on track to double CO2 since the pre-industrial revolution.
Yep, that's true.
The range is between 1.5 degrees Celsius to 5 degrees Celsius. Now,
okay, suppose this is true.
Go
ahead.
The reason I was asking you about catastrophic climate change, because if we were, well, let me put it to you this way. I call it the Cecil curve. Okay, what were the CO2 levels pre-industrial? Like you said, it was 270, right?
250, 270, something like that. Sure.
And I'm not good with math. I don't have a pen, but today it's like
450-ish.
So take 450, subtract 270. What do you get?
Yep. Okay, so you get 180.
You get 180. Remember that number.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's pretend like since the
what are we doing here?
Let's pretend like since the Industrial Revolution, instead of CO2 levels going up, they've gone down by 150.
Yeah, you have 0. No, you wouldn't have 0. Sorry, you would have like 870, I guess.
No, down. Like take 270 minus
180, which is 70.
Okay, so 70. This is why I call it the Cecil curve. Would life exist on planet Earth with CO2 levels at CO2?
Life probably would. Not life like not the kind of life that we like.
No, at 150. Yeah. Well, you have microbes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's life.
Okay, but humans would definitely not be here. Neither were any mammals, for that matter.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
What's
true?
So we're in better shape by going up in our CO2 than down.
That doesn't follow.
Oh, it follows for sure.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so hold on. So I just want to double check this.
Is not the thermostat. CO2 is not the thermostat of our temperature.
Cecil. I'm gonna check something. So okay, do you know what
catastrophic climate change would be? That we're losing CO2.
So
and
do you know?
Another 50 years we're all gonna die.
Cecil, I gotta ask you. So do you know what the normal blood iron reference ranges are for an adult male? Say.
No.
Okay, it's somewhere between 60 and 170 micrograms per deciliter. Okay, that's the number that the AI gives me. Now, if I have 120, or let's say that I have 150, right? Say I have 150 micrograms per deciliter of iron in my blood, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that's within the normal range, right? Now, if I doubled that, if I go from say 150 to 300, that would be way too much, and that'd be bad, right?
It depends if you're looking at a nonlinear algorithm, which is what
we're just looking at human health. We're just looking at human health.
CO2 is really. Can we stick to CO2? Because I've got 5 minutes left, and I gotta get back.
This is a hypothetical. This is hypothetical. You gotta engage with it.
Okay, go ahead. It's your show.
Yeah. So if I start with 150 micrograms per deciliter of iron in my blood, normal, healthy. If I double it, all of a sudden very unhealthy, right? However, if I then cut it in half, or if I cut it by 2/3 or something like this, I drop it to say 50. All of a sudden I'm unhealthy again. So it turns out that it can be the case that decreasing a thing can be bad, and also increasing a thing can be bad. That's possible and normal.
So what's the ideal amount of CO2 that should be in the atmosphere then?
It's
You don't know.
ideal
Nobody
for
does.
what? No. I mean, if you wanted me to answer, the point is it's ideal for what? So like plants obviously like more CO2. Humans like the climate to be a little bit less warm.
No,
and so
that's not
you
true
know,
either. Cold weather
Yeah.
kills far more people than warm weather.
I mean, tell that to all of the heat wave deaths in the last
Well,
5 years in Europe, but you know,
whatever.
make of that what
I
you
mean,
will. The point
if
is,
the heat deaths are
that
less
we
than
don't
the-
want the temperature to change from where it was 200 years ago
Because humans are control
have-
freaks. We can't control it.
If
Let me ask you
wait,
this.
hold on. If we can't control it, then how is it that the CO2 is controlling it?
You know what? I don't like to have misconceptions in my head, so I'm going to throw one past you, and you tell me if I'm wrong about this.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned about CO2 is that it's a non-linear algorithm. In other words, if you go from 200 to 400 CO2 parts per million, and you get let's say hypothetically, you get a temperature increase of 1 degrees. Now, if you go from 400 to 500, it's not going to do much. You actually have to double it. You have to go from 400
that's
to 800
on
to
what
get it
grounds?
to go up. Huh?
On what grounds? Like what basis do you have for this apparent like logarithmic relationship?
I've seen too many physicists mention it. I've watched literally
Name
hundreds
one.
of YouTube
Name one.
videos.
Is this written in any peer-reviewed paper, by the way? Oh no, actually, is this the Cecil curve again?
No, this is actual science. Now, I can't point to where you can see this, but I'd be willing to bet you that I'm right because I've seen it in too many places, and it's not even controversial.
Well, wait, have climate scientists said
Why don't
this?
you just look it up? Is CO2 increases a nonlinear? In other words,
So,
let's say we
Actually,
get to 400,
I agree that it's nonlinear, but it's not nonlinear in the way that you think it is. It's not.
No,
It's not
if
that
we-
it slows
let's say
down
we-
as it increases.
Let's say we double it and we reach 540 parts per million, and the temperature
Sure.
goes up at 1.5 degrees. Now
Sure.
we're going to have to double it again from 500. So
Oh,
now
that
we got to
doesn't
go to
follow.
over 1,000 to get
That
it
doesn't
to
follow.
increase. Yeah, that's a nonlinear,
that's-
nonlinear
there-
algorithm.
You know, so you know what else is nonlinear? If you double it the first time, it goes up by 1.5 degrees. If you increase by the same amount, not even double it. So if you go from 270 to 540, you get 1.5 degrees, say. If you
Okay.
then go from 540 to 810, which is another 210 increase or 270 increase, that could increase your temperature by 3 degrees. That would also be nonlinear.
No, you're wrong. You are
No,
wrong.
but
couldn't
you
go to
But you understand
No,
that that's
you have to
understand
double
that
it.
that's
You'd have
all.
to go from 540
You understand
to
that that's
1,000
also
to get it.
nonlinear, right?
No, not really, because
Yeah, it
I
is. Do you know
barely-
what linear means? Linear just means that the amount of increase is proportional to like the two changes are proportional to each other. So if you
That's
increase
kinda
by
what I thought it
270,
was.
so linear means that if you increase by 270 and you get 1 degree of increase, that anytime you increase by 270, you always get 1 degree of increase.
Okay, so
But
you're
a
telling me that it's
nonlinear-
not? Are you saying
all
that it's
nonlinear
not
means no. All
Okay.
nonlinear means is that it's not in proportion. It could be more. It could be faster. It could be slower.
So
That's all
are
it
you
means.
disputing what I'm saying about the nonlinear?
No, I actually very much agree that it's nonlinear, but it's probably not nonlinear in the way that you want it to be.
You
Meaning
think
that
I
the
came
more
up with
we
that?
add, the
You
worse
think
it
I came
gets.
up with? That's what I'm saying. The more you add, the less of a heating effect you get.
Oh no, I think it's the opposite of that.
No, not if you think about how much CO2 is in there. If you get a certain amount of CO2 with a certain increase, and then you double it and you just get a tiny increase. And okay, look, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have
but
to get back to work, but let me ask
what's
you this:
the evidence
the
that
CO2,
if you double it
the
again,
CO2
it'll only
that's
get
in the
another
air,
1.5
the
degrees?
The 430 parts per million of CO2 in the air. That's why they call CO2 a trace gas, because it's a tiny
Yeah,
amount.
it's a small
Is
fraction.
that
Yeah,
enough
absolutely.
is that enough to heat up the planet
Yeah,
by itself?
yeah, because it just changes the equilibrium, right?
By
equilibrium
itself,
is quite-
without
yeah.
any,
Yes, the
without
equilibrium.
any.
Well, I mean, there are other greenhouse gases, of course, but equilibriums are quite sensitive.
So let me just get this straight, because you're wrong here, and I think you're going to find out that you're wrong later if you
Yeah,
look
sure.
this up.
By the way, I'm just seeing if I can go find some models that actually indicate that for more than that it's in fact nonlinear in the way that you don't want it to be.
But what I'm asking you now, though, is this: is CO2 in and of itself, without any feedback loops or anything?
Oh,
the
without any
CO2
feedback loops? No, the whole thing is a
Right.
feedback loop.
No,
It's not even a question that can be answered.
When you burn a log in your backyard, that CO2 that's going into the air, that's not a feedback loop. That's the
No, but
input.
CO2 influences other conditions that also affect the climate, right? That's the point.
That's okay. But a minute ago, you
Like, it
said it
affects
was
the
the CO2
equilibrium.
in and of itself, without
the
feedback
CO2
loops.
affects the equilibrium.
Yeah, but in such a minuscule amount that it can't.
No,
affect the
it's significant. That's the point.
No. It's not. If you
No,
if you
no.
study this,
Yes,
no.
yes.
The only thing that's significant is the feedback loops that they haven't even proved to what extent the feedback loops kick in. That's the only thing that's
You don't-
significant. If you take away those
Look,
feedback
so
loops, you
the
don't
Earth is
get
the Earth is a
you don't
dynamical
get
system.
any warming. You get such a small amount of warming that
You
it's so
realize that
minuscule.
like even if you take away literally the entire atmosphere, there's still feedback loops that we well understand, and these
Well,
these
it'd
would
be a whole
this is-
different set of feedback loops.
My point is that like any so the most basic feedback loop that exists on Earth is the radiation emitted by the Earth compared with the energy input that the Earth gets, and you end up with at a different equilibrium temperature depending on how much radiation escapes the Earth in the form of heat.
Yeah, and that all
how
depends
much
on how much ice and snow and things like
all of
reflective
those things. So the point is that because it's called the emissivity is the relevant thing. Because the emissivity is very sensitive to things like the amount of ice, to things like the amount of water, to things like the amount of buildings that we build, to things like the atmospheric composition. Of course, all of these things are going to be it's very sensitive to that emissivity content.
Are you
and
sure
so
you
if the
don't believe in
CO2
God?
changes,
Because you paint a
so if the
picture of like
CO2
Earth
changes,
is perfect just the way it is, and if anything changes,
it's not
we're
perfect.
screwed.
It's just sensitive.
Do you believe God made the universe?
No.
You
By the
sound
way,
like you do.
By the way, I want to show you something fun.
You're starting to sound really religious. How everything was perfect until mankind showed up on the scene, and now we're just messing it all up. It's so sensitive.
So
that
here's a whole bunch of models. By the way, do you see these curves?
I'm gonna have to look at it later when I
You just look at your
cast it on.
phone.
Yeah, okay, I see it. Let me get I got my glasses, but even
Yeah. So importantly, none of these curves are linear. And so the point is that if none of these curves are linear, and see how they're actually like ramping up, see how some of them are ramping down. Like the point is that the relationship between the CO2 emissions and the temperature are not linear, and they don't have to be linear in the way that you want it to be.
I'm talking about when you're adding.
They don't have to be non-linear in the way that you want it to be.
You're talking about history, and you're looking.
No, this isn't
projects
history.
all the way out to
Nope,
2075.
these are project. This is CO2 atmospheric concentration versus temperature anomaly. So like if you look at this blue one, for example, the rate at which temperature anomaly increases with CO2 atmospheric concentration is that the more CO2 there is, the faster it increases. Whereas if you look at the pink one, it's that if you increase the CO2 more, then it increases more slowly. And if you look at this green one, it's like if you increase the CO2, then it increases roughly linearly. So like this is not like some consensus that like of course if you increase the CO2, it increases the temperature anomaly increases more slowly. That's just not the case.
Right, you have to double it to get maybe a 1.5 degrees Celsius of an increase, and then we got to double it again. So
I literally just said that that's not what's happening. I literally just said that that's not what's happening.
Just your little pink graph doesn't.
This
prove it
model.
to me.
So these are models that say otherwise.
See, I've seen a lot of graphs that show
otherwise.
that CO2 actually comes after the warming.
Oh, that's strictly false. Not in the last 250 years. Not in the last 250 years.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about thousands of years ago.
Yeah. In the past, yes, CO2 increased after the temperature changed.
The only thing that's really different is that how quickly we've gone from 270 to 430 or whatever.
Yep, and then the temperature is lagging behind the CO2 increase. Which is characteristically different from how it's happened every single other time in the past.
Well, it depends if you trust the global temperature records. The weather stations are, we only have them in half of the globe, and the history when they look at these weather.
Do you think
records,
that's true?
Yeah, I think a lot of the weather stations are in bad places where there's a urban heat index, and the temperatures are falsely reporting that they're warmer than they are.
Okay, so you're just like so. By the way, here's a global climate network temperature stations. Here's a graph of the globe of where they are. Does that look to you like they're only on half of the globe?
I would have to study it, but and I would have.
They're everywhere. They're literally everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of them don't work. Like,
what's the evidence for this? You're just making shit up. Like, obviously, you're just making shit up. A lot of them don't work.
No, I've seen.
Don't make shit up. Be honest.
No, I don't make things up. I got this from Tony Heller, and he's been studying.
So it sounds like all of your stuff is based from this guy named Tony Heller.
Well, no, there's also William Happer.
Is Tony Heller just a YouTuber?
Well, he's a YouTuber, but he's also a statistician. He's a geologist.
Let's find out.
Which is funny. When I tell people,
is he actually
a geologist? Yeah. No, hold on. Don't watch. Climate the movie. You should check that out. Dude.
Wait, so this guy is a geologist? Where did he get his degree?
I think it was in Arizona. I tell you what, type in realclimatescience.com.
That sounds like a great website. Realclimatescience.com. Let's go.
It's nice to realclimatescience.com. All right.
Right, we're on realclimatescience.com.
And does it have like
yes,
Toto?
YouTube videos, Trump tweets?
Do you see he quotes Richard Feynman in the upper left there? What does Richard Feynman say about science?
Science is the belief in the ignorance of the experts.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly true. That is so true.
So
I don't think anything
science is also doing
poignant than that.
Look, I agree, but you got to be an expert if you're going to make criticisms of experts. Otherwise, you're not going to know anything.
Can you?
So where's this guy's credential? Let's look up who is Tony. Yeah, let's go. So he's a whistleblower. He's an independent thinker who is considered a heretic by the orthodoxy on both sides of the climate debate. He's a lifelong environmentalist. Okay, so he testified at his first congressional subcommittee hearing at age 15. That's cool. Now let's see. So he has a degree in geology and electrical engineering, so not climate science. He worked on the design team of many of the world's most complex designs, not very specific, but okay. Doesn't receive any funding other than small donations for his blog. Claims 97%. The claim of 97% consensus is a massive lie. Only 52% of American Meteorological Society members believe that man is the primary contributor to global warming. Citation needed. So his relevant climate science experience is that he has a degree in geology and electrical engineering.
What's a better resume for studying the climate?
Climate science? That's a degree that you can get. You can get a degree in climate science.
Well, the thing is, I looked it up. I asked AI about that, and there's like 4 different fields that climate scientists go into. One is atmospheric. I don't know if it's atmospheric physics. The other one is geology. Physics is another field. I forget the other field, but my point is, anytime I mention Tony's credentials, people say, "Oh, he's just a geologist." What do geologists do? Don't geologists study the age of the Earth? Don't they study tree
Some
rings?
Of them do.
Okay, well, he does. He studies.
So where are his publications?
Hey, I got to get back to work, but I'm glad that you at least had the balls to look at his website, because
his website makes him look worse. By the way.
Oh, you've spent like 2 seconds on there. How would you know? See,
yeah,
your bias
I mean, he hasn't presented any credentials besides I have a degree in geology and electrical engineering. That doesn't give me any warm feelings that he knows what he's talking about.
What about Sabine Hassenfelder?
I think that she is a good physicist and otherwise has really, really bad positions on basically everything else.
Is that right? Can I just read off a couple headlines to you real quick and get your thoughts on them?
I thought you had to go back to work.
I do. I've got like 2 more minutes here.
Yeah, sure. Where are we reading headlines from? Because how about you read a headline, then I read a headline, then you read a headline, then I read a headline. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, I found it. I fucking found it. This is from BBC News, April of 2019. It says, Canada warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. That's your turn.
Heat waves have killed millions. Here's how scientists tally lives lost.
Okay.
Your turn.
Finland is warming faster than the rest of the world. January 2015.
This one's from the LA Times from 2026. Heat deaths top 25,000 in Europe as scorching weather persists.
Okay, here's Popular Science, January 2015. Australia is heating up faster than the rest of the world. You seeing a pattern here?
Yeah, I'm seeing all these headlines. Here's one from the Yale School of Public Health. Warming U.S. climate linked to rising deaths from heat. Severe cold remains a leading mortality risk, but heat-related deaths surged more than 50% since 2000.
Didn't you previously concede that heat kills more people than cold weather does?
Did I concede that heat can? No, the point is that the world is no, you were saying the opposite. I was saying, yeah, heat is killing a lot of people, and you said cold kills more people.
It does.
I mean, the Europe and like Europe and the United States would beg to differ.
Is this a new thing? People just started dying of the heat in the last 25, 50 years?
It's getting so much worse. Yeah. It's increased by 50% in the last 25 years in the U.S.
A true believer, religious guy like you would believe that. Here's my next headline.
Hold on, I just read you the headline. It says it in the headline. Severe cold remains a leading mortality risk, but heat-related deaths surged more than 50% since 2000.
But it remains.
This is a recent thing. That's the point.
My turn for a headline. Israel warming up twice as fast as the rest of the world. China is heating up twice as fast as the rest
Oh,
of the world.
I thought we were doing one at a
Africa.
time.
Okay, you're
Are we
right.
doing one? Wait, so what do you think that these headlines are actually saying?
Well, China, Africa, Israel, Australia, Canada, Finland, the list goes on. And then
So maybe the headline, maybe you should read more than the headlines.
I just started typing into AI, is the U.S. warming up faster than the rest of the world? And it said yes. Then every other country, I think New Zealand is one.
Here's another headline.
Isn't.
Climate change is projected to cause 10 times more people to die in poor countries than rich countries. We're just doing climate change. We're just doing headlines, right?
Well, all my headlines had something in common, and that is, if they're all warming up twice as fast as everywhere else, how is that mathematically possible?
Well, maybe you should read the articles.
These are all left wing.
Maybe you should read the articles then.
Well, I'm asking you. You're a smart guy.
I haven't read the articles. I haven't seen those headlines. How can I know what they're trying to say if I haven't read them? Maybe you should read them. Here's another one. Climate change tripled heat-related deaths in early summer European heat wave.
Twice as fast as the rest of the world. Is there really much more to read after that? In fact,
yes,
all these
there's a
articles
whole
are pretty
article.
much the same.
There's a whole article that you could read, actually.
Well,
here's
Doctor,
another one.
I want to say
climate change tripled heat-related deaths in early summer European heat wave. Seems kind of bad.
Well, you act like droughts are a new thing. Like
this isn't a drought. This is a heat wave.
Heat waves, droughts, it's all that.
They're not the same thing. Do you know the difference between a drought and a heat wave? A drought is when it doesn't rain much. A heat wave is when it's so hot that people literally die from heat exhaustion.
What's the hottest heat record on Earth? What's the temperature record?
I don't know. It's probably like 130 degrees.
Yeah, you're close. It's like 134 in 1913. How come we're not setting those records today?
Oh, I mean, so your example is like a one-off record? Because
what I'm saying is it's groupthink. You guys, everyone is convinced.
Go look at the average summer temperature in Europe in like some European city or something over the last 25 years, and you'll find that the highest highs during summer are going up.
Yeah, it's called Urban Heat Index.
You can do it in forests too.
It's hotter.
You can do it in forests too, and you find the same thing.
Is that right? Well, next time you're watching the local news and the weatherman is pointing to your state and he's pointing out all the places and the temperatures.
Actually, let me show you.
You'll notice that the cooler temperatures are away from your city places.
Let me show you something. A surefire example of heat or of climate change, if I can find it. Yeah. So here we go. This is the one. So this is from a weather report. So this is from my local state, actually. So it's this is the Phoenix area. I live in Arizona. This is Fox News 10. In Cave Creek, it was 2,960 degrees. I don't know. It sounds like climate change to me.
It was 2,960 degrees.
That's what Fox News said.
Okay, you're being silly now. But hey,
I mean, and like over in Goodyear, it was only 64 degrees.
Doctor, I got to get back to work. I just want to say thank you very much for taking my call. I listen to you all the time. I rarely get to call in because I work a lot. And the times I have called in, I've wanted to have this very discussion, but you said no because that's not what was on the menu that day. But today, when I heard you talking about all this, I was really eager to call you. And I'm so glad I did. I had a really good time. I feel like you learned a few things from me, and I'm just a nobody that doesn't know anything.
I hope you learned a few things from me.
I learned that you don't have to believe in God to be religious. You
all
have
right,
all
right. Quit with the condescension. Get out of here, Cecil. Go back to work. I hope you learned a few things from me, but I didn't learn anything from you. Yeah, no, this is a good meme though. The right now. I always love it when they screw up. They're like, in Cave Creek, it's 2,960 degrees today. It's exceptionally funny to me. All right, let us read some super chats and we'll move on to our next guest. By the way, in the meantime, make sure to like the live stream. Make sure to click follow if you're watching on TikTok. Make sure to click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Wherever you're watching, make sure to follow along. All right, from oh, and if you want to support me, a good way to do that is via Cash App. It's in my bio, or via Venmo. It's just @BlitzPhD. Or you can send super chats on YouTube. From Scruffy Mans with the $5, yes, the iconic Hail Science moment in Futurama occurs in the episode titled Calculon 2.0. Thank you for explaining doing science isn't religion. Yeah, of course it's not religion. From Mr. Kiki with the $2, I'm no scientismist, but trust me, bro. Yeah, right, I have to trust him. From Beebs with the $10, my dad, a retired doctor, has lifelong respiratory issues due to working through a whooping cough epidemic in the UK in the 70s. Caused by vax hesitancy. Babies died and my dad's lungs are scarred. Yeah, it's really bad, right? It's like really bad. Vaccine skepticism is really bad. From Holy Gore with the $2, the Cecil curve. Yeah, it's funny that he named it after himself. From Cherry Bomb Games with the $10, I'm a mail carrier and there are always a couple deaths every summer because it's so hot. So yes, I'd prefer cooler weather overall. All that to say, climate change is real and harmful to humans. Yeah, so the thing about it is that like cold related deaths are a big deal. And the reason they're a big deal is because we have people who are like living outside. And sometimes we have really bad winter storms that knock out power and then people freeze. But like heat related deaths, like there's only so much that an AC unit can do if it's sufficiently hot. And and the reason why they're so bad in Europe is because most of Europe doesn't have AC, because up until the last 20 years, they didn't need it. Equilibrium, thank you for sending the GOAT trophy. I do appreciate that. And from Async Network with the $5, don't forget to check totallyfuckinglegit.com is where to, I swear to God, trust me pro.tv, oh brother, this guy stinks.org, and whatanasshole.com/drop. That's funny. And from the Nightly Gamer with the $10, last call in, my statistic from 1913 is my argument. Forget those average temps climbing. Bye, guys. Yeah, right? I mean, like, the point is we can go look at average global temperatures, and we see that they're increasing. Like, one particular anecdote does not an argument make. It's a problem. All right, let us bring on another guest. Let's bring on a guest. Let's bring on T-Gram. T-Gram, you're currently on the live.
Oh, snap. This is awesome.
Where are you coming from?
Thanks for
Why are
having
you coming
me.
from my... Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think I can hear you.
Sweet.
All right.
Awesome, man. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. T-Gram, are you MAGA?
Okay, I will say up until this Israel stuff, I would say that I was probably more MAGA than anything else, yes.
Okay. You understand that I'm looking to talk to people who are MAGA?
Correct. Yes. Yep. I'd fit in that category. I'd fit in that category, for sure.
All right, fair enough. Well, T-Gram, I do have a few questions to ask you then before we get started, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first is, do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
No.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children and infants are generally safe and effective?
No.
And do you think that we evolved from non-human ancestors, humans?
No.
Okay, cool. So
But these are just all my personal beliefs.
That's fine. That's fine. Like we can get into it.
We can kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it or we don't have to. It's up to you. But do you know why I say that MAGA is anti-science? Do you know what I mean by that?
I was hoping that you would give a good definition for me.
Yeah. Okay. So I have one written down. So let me just read it. Let me just pull it up. So the definition that I can give is I would say that a political movement is anti-science if it systematically, 1, rejects or delegitimizes scientific consensus that's politically inconvenient, and 2, it undermines the institutions and procedures that produce that politically inconvenient scientific knowledge. And I would say that MAGA fits the bill.
Okay. Can you define political inconvenience?
Yeah, like, so political inconvenience is probably a broad category, but I can give examples. So, like, say that there was a politician who was receiving money from, I don't know, like some sort of plastic company, right? And then science came out that said that plastic company or the plastic that company makes is dangerous in some way. Then it would be politically inconvenient for the politician to accept the science that says it's dangerous, because it would harm their chances of getting elected again. It would, piss off their donors. It would, maybe it would be incongruent with whatever their previously held beliefs were. And it's that kind of thing. Like, it causes a conflict that makes their life more difficult in a political sense.
Got it. Okay. Okay, I'm just formulating some thoughts here. What would be? Can you help me understand? Give me an example of what it would be for you to, like, what kind of evidence would you need to see to reject the premise that MAGA is anti-science? Like, what would you have to see to change your mind on that statement?
So I would need to see kind of two things, or at least one of these two things. One, we would need to see that, like, on politically inconvenient things, on politically inconvenient topics, MAGA still isn't more likely to reject the scientific consensus, even when it's politically inconvenient. So that would be one example. So like for some particular politically inconvenient thing. Another example would be, say the federal government, which is, you know, controlled by MAGA right now. The federal government like funding things, or, you know, not reducing funding for things that for scientific research that is politically inconvenient. But the point that I'm making is that the reason why I don't think that this will happen is because we actually see the exact opposite. Like there are examples of the exact opposite being the case. Like there are cases. Examples? Yeah. So surely we can agree that climate change and that climate science generally is politically inconvenient for Trump's political movement, right? Because we know that he is a big fan of coal. He's a big fan of gas. Climate science is generally going to be in favor, or is going to be, you know, opposed to excessive uses of those things. So climate science is one very good example of something that's politically inconvenient for Trump. And there was a great example of Trump's administration shutting down the Orbiting Carbon Observatory, which is one of the best pieces, or one of our best instruments for measuring the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. It's a satellite that's orbiting Earth, and his team shut it down.
Why specifically did they shut it down? Was to save money, or?
It was already in orbit. It already existed, right? It's not like they were launching something new. But I can go pull up the explicit. I think that they actually even give us the explicit reason, and it's not a good look. Trump appointed the head of NASA. NASA is the person who shut it down. The head of NASA is the person who shut it down. NASA says and this is a direct quote from NASA, the missions were, quote, beyond their prime mission, unquote, and they were being terminated, quote, to align with the president's agenda and budget priorities. Now, that sounds fine until you realize that there was no budget impact of these things because they were already in space. Right. This is not something that this, like, you know, like a small amount of money a year to maintain it. But I mean, they explicitly say it was to align with the president's agenda. That sounds awfully politically motivated to me.
I really appreciate you helping explain some of these things. I'm just trying to get a better understanding. So what was the political convenience of doing this specifically?
It prevents it reduces our ability to monitor CO2 levels in the atmosphere, which means that it's harder to do climate change science.
Got it. So then there's like a direct correlation between. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Help me understand. So essentially what you're telling me here is that if we find a way for you to see how the MAGA movement, or the MAGA people, generally speaking, made a decision that was politically inconvenient, aka maybe corporations or whatever else, people who have money, who are influencing politics, they would follow the science in a more inconvenient way, then that would help maybe at least make the claim a little bit more shaky or less grounded, correct?
Like if you could give me an example of like Donald Trump like bucking his donors and being like, no, instead I want to follow the science, damn the donors. If Donald Trump ever did that, that'd be great. But I don't think that that's ever happened. It's
a little bit difficult for me to prove that, especially because I think that happens on both sides of the political atmosphere. I think both the left and the right are probably placating to their donors, and that's part of what politics
that's true.
is.
That's true.
So
however, on the left, the donors tend to be more aligned with the scientific consensus.
Okay, very good. A scientific consensus.
Yep.
And okay. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think that what's going to end up happening is we're just going to have an argument or a debate on specifically what is scientific consensus or what is ultimately true. I think a big thing on the right, on the MAGA, is that we feel like that there's been enough situations where the scientific consensus has been wrong. And I think that's where maybe even with your last guest talking about it being a religion or just kind of following into it, can kind of maybe strike some chords, because there has been situations where there's been scientific consensus on a particular topic, and then hundreds of years later, tens of years later, 5 years later, they've had to reverse their findings. Science is fickle in that way, but I think
you there? You're cutting out a bit.
Maybe for me. Oh, can you hear me? Yep. I'm so sorry. I'm on the road. Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay. You can't be on the road.
So I think. Oh, I can't. I'm so
No,
sorry.
it's
All right,
TikTok
well,
terms of service.
Okay, I should have said that. I'm so sorry. But
No,
I
you
do-
shouldn't
Here's
have.
the deal. Here's the deal. All I ask is for that when I do park, I'll give you maybe like a little text or something, and
Okay.
we can continue the conversation. But
All right.
maybe just as you let me go, let me just ask you this here quickly. In the terms of, would you then assume something like abortion, for example, that Trump specifically had a lot of pro-life donors, and that's why it was politically convenient for him to go along with go against what you would consider to be scientific?
Well, so I actually like the abortion question is not really a science question. Like, it's just not really. It's like an ethics question, right? Well,
right?
No. It's a question about personhood, right? It's a question about like which things deserve rights. And so right, because like
okay.
so
you wouldn't go
but
down
this
that
is
path then for this conversation.
No, I mean, like, we could talk about it, but it's not super relevant, I don't think. But this is a perfect example, because I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump was not anti-abortion like prior to like 2015, but because of the because of his donors, like now he is, right? And so that would be an example. Like if he was pro-choice, then he probably would have gone against them.
Got it. Yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can find not on the road at all. I'm gonna try to see if I can find some examples for you of when the MAGA movement specifically went with science to maybe help
against their best interests. All right.
Yes. Okay.
Sounds
good.
Take care. All right. He does seem like he's in good faith. I'd love to hear this. I'd love to hear examples of like MAGA going like against their own political interests to just believe the science. That would be really cool. And that would restore some faith of mine in humanity, I think. I don't know if he'll find them, but we'll see. All right, we have some super chats to read, and then we'll bring on our next guest from TikTok. From Zedbout with the $5. I'm convinced that those red hats have brainworms along the inside lining. You would think drinking all that ivermectin would take care of that. True, one of them does. From Mad Mark with the $5. What's the point of putting someone clearly uninformed on stream just to embarrass them? Feels like a sacrifice feeding someone to the mob. Chat. So one of the goals of this stream is to embarrass MAGA for being anti-science, because my goal is to get less people to be MAGA and for less people to be anti-science. I think that being anti-science is bad. I think that MAGA tends to lead to being anti-science, and I would like less of that. So yes, this does mean embarrassing people who are anti-science and who are MAGA, because then less people are more likely to do that. So yeah, that is the goal. And sometimes I change minds too, like for people who are like more normal, more like on the fence, like sometimes I can change their minds. From AI Induced Apologist with the $5. Cecil only wanting headlines is a perfect picture of a based MAGA science understanding. Such an absurd level, absurd confidence bias in its cartoonishness. Or it's cartoonish. Yes, I agree. He did just want to talk about headlines, so that was kind of funny. All right, we should bring up our next guest. If I can find the multi-guest live button. Cool. All right, let's bring up SU3AAJ. SU3, how's it going?
Hi, Dr. Blitz. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. SU3, I hate to do this, but what part of the world are you in?
I'm calling in from Singapore. I'm Indian, so I'm born
Do you
in India,
have the
but I've
ability
been-
to vote in the United States?
No, I don't. But I
all
do
right, then
have
I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
Because
no
your opinion here just doesn't really matter, unfortunately. Such is the reality. All right, let's bring up ... How's it going?
Hi. Good. I think you're gonna let me go though, because I'm Australian. I don't know.
Why do you have strong opinions about MAGA? It's not your country.
I don't. I don't support them. I just.
Well, then why'd you come up?
I don't think they're anti-science. Yeah.
Okay. Let's bring up Billy Jake. Billy Jake is not my lover. Yeah, I guess Billy Jake is not my lover because he left. You know, Billy Jake sounds like a guy's name, but Billie Jean sounds like a girl's name. It's just the world. It's just the world we live in. Define MAGA? I let people redefine themselves. What is a man? The kind of person that you cover your drink in front of. I don't know. Like. All right. Oh no, I don't want to talk to John Stone again. Even though John Stone is a well-known lolcow, I don't want to talk to racists. You know, once is enough, twice is enough, perhaps. Weirdo, how's it going?
Great.
Glad to hear it, Weirdo. Weirdo, are you MAGA?
Yeah. I'm also not MAGA at the same time, though.
Oh, you're both a thing and not a thing in the same way at the same time?
Yeah, I hold to paraconsistent logic.
Okay, cool. Thanks for being here, Weirdo. That indeed is a weirdo. Let's talk to debates are useful. I feel like I've spoken with debates are useful recently, but maybe not about this topic. Debates are useful. How's it going?
Wait, is this only about MAGA?
It's like you don't know how to read.
Do
you bother looking at the screen before? Do you bother looking at the screen before you click join?
Yeah, but like I feel like this is such a non-debated topic. Like,
so
we're not gonna get any people in here.
To be clear, I've had 6 or 4 people on today, but that's neither here nor there. Learn to read. Do they not teach reading in the UK? Like, I thought we had a literacy crisis in the US. Like, do better. Do better. He doesn't even go here. That's so funny. It's so funny. Remember to like the live, y'all, so then we can get this sent out to more people. It's so funny. Reading is woke liberal propaganda. True, it is. It is woke liberal propaganda, I would know. As a woke liberal propagandist, yeah. Anti-science. At least we can define a woman. You want to come up, Celtic? We can come up. You can come up. Let's see if he's brave enough. Let's see if the random transphobe is brave enough to actually defend the view, or if he's just going to decline, because of course he's not. Of course he won't. In fact, he's already rejected the request. Oh, and he follows me? That's crazy. Nope, he rejected it again. How fearful. DR, waiting on my dinner. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, has a single MAGA... Oh, he's not even American? Oh, has a single MAGA... yeah, hate follower, right? Has a single MAGA... Sorry, I just want to read this comment. Because I can't... It keeps scrolling away. Where is this comment? I like your content, but please don't get exposed like Dean for being paid by the DNC that ruined. Look, if the DNC wanted to pay me, I would tell you, and I'd be like, okay, I'll take it. No, I'm kidding, of course. I would have to look at what they want me to do. Like, I think that the DNC is probably like, some wings of the DNC are probably better than other wings. Like the progressive wing is better than the centrist wing, but like, but yeah, like, you know. Also, I don't know if Dean actually was being paid by the DNC. I don't know if that's true. I think that's actually probably made up. TikTok user 513, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me up.
Glad to hear it. TikTok user, are you MAGA?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Sure.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you just a few quick, like, rapid fire yes or no questions really quick before we jump in?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. So do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
The main cause of climate change? Potentially. I don't know.
I'll put unsure. Do you think that vaccines that we typically administer to young children are generally safe and effective?
Generally, yes.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
It's totally possible. I really haven't given that much thought, to be honest.
I'll put unsure. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I don't know how long you've been watching. I have a specific meaning of what I mean when I say that MAGA is anti-science. Do you want me to tell you what I mean? Just to lay the ground rules, if you will. So, right. So what I mean is kind of two things regarding a political movement. What I mean is that, first of all, the people in the political movement and perhaps the leaders have a tendency to reject or delegitimize mainstream scientific consensus when it's politically inconvenient. And the second thing is that the people who are kind of at the top of that political movement seek to undermine and or delegitimize the scientific institutions that produce the politically inconvenient science. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So given that definition, I think that that's, at least I don't know about you, but I think that that's a plausible definition for a movement to be anti-science. Under that definition, MAGA meets it in spades.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we want to use that definition, though, I think that you could probably find examples of people who are politically active on either side of the aisle that have engaged in behavior that's like that. So I think that if you're going to paint MAGA as anti-science, I think that
I'm
it
not
would be
talking about
fair
individuals,
to
though.
say that everybody else is as well.
I'm not talking about individuals, right? As far as at the level of like just rejecting the science, I'm talking about like demographic-wide data, not like individual people. And as far as the like policy implementations, I'm talking specifically about policymakers, not like just random influencers, right?
So give me like a specific scientific contention that the general people of MAGA believe that is totally anti-science.
Climate change. Climate change is like the most obvious definitive one. In fact, we have data specifically on MAGA Republicans thinking that climate change is less serious compared to even non-MAGA Republicans.
Got it. Okay, now let me ask you this, and I'm actually a little bit versed in this. I've had this conversation with many people. I actually had this conversation not too long ago with a guy who is super, super passionate about climate change, and we actually agreed. And I think that kind of what you're saying is maybe a little bit out of context. Like, for instance, I am I'm definitely right-leaning. I voted for Trump, and if you ask me about climate change, what I would tell you is this. I think that climate change exists. Obviously, I think the climate changes. I think that people and things that we're producing certainly will have an effect on that. But I don't think that we are in danger of civilization ending in the next 10 years. And I really do not support broad, sweeping federal policy that goes down to the individual level to combat climate change, because I just really am uncomfortable with that idea. I think it's fundamentally ridiculous. So for instance, and I think a lot of people are like that who are probably on my side of the aisle. I don't necessarily think that it's not a real thing. I just don't think the world's going to end in 10 years. And when you look online and when you look on the TV, that's a lot of what people are saying who are very big into the climate change thing.
You might not, but the point is that the data says otherwise, that right-leaning individuals, conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, depending on however you want to classify them, are far more likely to reject that humans are even causing climate change at all. Not just that, like, we're causing it, but it won't be so bad.
Okay. And this is polling data?
So this particular study, this comes from this is not just a poll. This is like a peer-reviewed study trying to understand the demographics of the kinds of people who think that climate change is a conspiracy or reject anthropogenic climate change, that kind of thing. And they summarize like this is like the whole. It's like a whole paper, but
well, so if these are these people's
here
beliefs, then at some point they had to obviously tell someone that that's their belief. So this would be a peer-reviewed study that is based on polling data.
Well, it's based off of surveys generally.
Which is
polling data. No, I mean, well, okay, it depends on what you mean by polling, but yes,
I mean,
that is how,
as clear
that
as
is how they
gets.
collect the
You're
data.
asking people questions, you're recording their answers, and then you're taking
surveys,
those answers that they gave you and you're putting that into a data set. You're polling people, taking their answers.
You can call it polling if you want,
and then you're making this
my
massive
point
assumption that everybody's anti-science on that.
My point is, and by the way, this is just like a perfect example of what I'm talking about. The point is that this isn't just like some polling institution. This is like researchers conducting a study, a sociological study, and the way that they collect their data is by asking people.
So this would be an appeal to authority right here.
It's not an appeal to authority. I'm just telling you that this is a research study. I'm just like,
you're
this is a
telling
different
me
kind
that
of
it's
thing.
a research study conducted by people who know what they're doing. But
I didn't say who know what they're doing.
My contention is that
I didn't say that at all.
Then, okay, repeat exactly what you said.
Look, so all I'm saying is that there's a distinction between polling data, which is not peer reviewed, it's not examined, it's not methodologically examined, it can be very, very wishy-washy and things like that. And then there's peer reviewed sociological studies, and this is the latter. So
okay,
this is not
very
just
closely.
polling data.
Yeah, okay, very closely, just so that everybody in the audience can hear, okay? Because what you're doing is, it's kind of sly, it's a little bit slimy in my opinion. What you are suggesting is that these people go out and they ask these questions and they poll people on different things. They take the answers and they put that into a data set. you are making the argument that because of the people who are getting the data and the people who are bringing the data and
analyzing the data.
Hang on, you are basically saying that because those certain people are saying this data means this, that it must mean that. But if I'm sitting here and I'm saying I'm not sure, if just asking people what they think and then collecting polling data and then extrapolating that into a peer-reviewed study, I don't really actually view that as really great science. It's a lot like sociology, where a lot of it's based on polling. It's based on asking people questions and then
surveying
making a decision based on
their polling is for elections, by the way.
Okay, give me the definition of polling.
Yeah,
it's not just for elections.
That's how it's used, at least in American English. I don't know about you, but the point is,
hang on. Okay, could I
it's
poll the office on their thoughts on what we should get for lunch?
No, I think you would survey. I think you would survey them.
In iMessages, could I create a poll and send it to my friends?
I guess you could, but that would be a kind of election, right?
Okay, so what you just said,
like you're voting for something.
Absolutely, factually, definitionally wrong.
I don't think that's true.
It's not
but
just
that's
elections,
fine.
so you can admit that, or we can end the conversation.
If you want to end the conversation because we're having a semantic disagreement, you can do that, and that would just be evidence of you not only being anti-science because you're rejecting sociology and you're running.
It's yes or no.
No.
Do you agree with it or not?
I think that polling is typically used to refer to election data, not just any data generally.
So you disagree with the definition of polling?
Yeah.
You disagree, even though I just gave you common examples of using polls that are not with elections. I just gave you two examples right off bat.
That's cool.
You're telling me that that's just not common.
You know what? You're right. You got me. I'm right. I used the word polling wrong. You got me. Okay, so now are you going to confront the anti-science that you're doing? You're just saying, well, I don't think this is good science.
I mean, yeah,
because on no grounds.
Hang on. I have a great point that I'd like to make to you.
Oh, do you?
I'm talking to somebody who, in order to make their point and in order to stay on their side of the argument, they will literally disagree with me over the definition of polling. So why would I trust that you'll have a conversation with me in good faith if you can't even just easily say, okay, yeah, polling obviously isn't just elections. Your argument
that's how it's usually used in my understanding. That's why I did that.
Was based on, well, it's just for elections. So that critique is now out the window. You've admitted that you're wrong, and you're being disingenuous. Very obvious.
I'm being disingenuous. You're the one who's rejecting the peer-reviewed data, right?
You said you disagreed with me on the definition of polling.
Yeah, and people can have different definitions for different words. Like, that's just not an issue. But
okay, well, okay, then I'll have my own definitions for words. Let's try and have a conversation and see how far we get.
Yeah. Okay. So, which part of the study do you not like?
I don't like the fact that it's polling data.
Okay, why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? Because it's quote unquote polling data.
Because polling data is unreliable at best.
Okay, on what grounds?
On the grounds that people can lie.
Okay, so how do you suspect that we should figure out instead what the general kind of opinion, the general consensus opinion is amongst a group of people?
Well, I'm not sure why the general consensus would matter. For instance, on a matter like climate change, why would I care what somebody thinks who has never interacted with the science of climate change? Why would I care if they believe it or not?
It's relevant for the definition that I gave you for what it means for a political movement to be anti-science, right? That's why it matters for this conversation.
Well, I think again, okay, so what I'm saying is, if I think that the data is unreliable, then the data that would suggest that liberals are more pro-science would also be unreliable. So the whole entire thing that you're proposing is based on polling data. I don't think that you can extrapolate polling data to this level to call an entire group of people anti-science. And I think what you're doing is obviously very slimy and it's semantics. And you have to start the conversation basically by saying, well, I get to create my own definitions for words to disagree with you on points that really are they don't even really matter. It's just disingenuous.
So just to be clear, the grounds for this position is not just based on polling data. Did you not pay attention to the definition I offered? The definition I offered of what it means for a political movement to be anti-science?
I've been paying attention to the conversation where you've been lying and you've been saying that we get to create our own definitions.
Well, I mean, people do use words in different ways. Surely we agree on that, right?
Yep.
People use words in different ways.
You disagree with the definition of polling.
Well, no, we didn't actually talk about a definition of polling. You just kind of said that polling can include other things.
You didn't give it to me.
Yeah, I didn't give you
one.
Well,
that it only has to do with elections.
Actually, I did give you one. That's the definition. It's a survey with regards to elections, but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. We don't even have to have the semantic conversation. The point is, it's hard for the rest of the TikTok user, whatever your name is.
Because why would you be so?
The point is that I offered you a two-part definition for a political movement to be anti-science, and only one of them relies on knowing what the positions are of a demographic. The second one relies specifically on policy decisions and on actions of political agents, and that is absolutely not related to polling data. So we don't even need to rely on polling data, and we can still come to the conclusion that MAGA is anti-science. So I don't know why you're complaining about this one when it's not the only piece of data that we have to work with.
Yeah, I mean, the other side of the aisle literally says that men can get pregnant and women can have penises, and you're sitting here
Okay.
saying that because of
Yeah,
polling
yeah, yeah.
data, this side of the aisle is anti-science. It's like,
Cool. So
are you
I
kidding
kind
me?
of
Is this a
assumed that
joke?
we would jump straight into the transphobia, which is fine.
Like
Like
somebody
you
who
can
has
you can
a
do that if you
PhD
want.
will literally actually
Yeah, yeah.
they'll
Okay. So
really
do you think
actually
that
try to
do
argue
you
this
think
with you.
do you think that the scientific consensus says that sex and gender are the same thing?
I don't really care what the scientific consensus is. If
Ah,
the
so you're just doing
scientific
the
consensus
anti-science.
said that the sky
Great.
is
You're
red,
doing
I
a
would
good
know
example.
that it's wrong and I don't have to follow it.
So
But
you're
an
doing
appeal to
a good example
consensus-
of
again, this is an
anti-science.
appeal to authority. This isn't the
No,
actual
it's an appeal to expert consensus, actually, not an appeal to authority.
Yeah, okay, expert authority, right? That would be or expert consensus. That's authority. Those are synonymous in this.
They're
in this
literally not synonymous, but okay.
Do you know what appeal to authority is?
Yeah. So and
When
in fact,
someone says that,
appeal
what
to
does it
authority.
mean?
To be clear, appeal to
Yes.
authority is not always fallacious. It's sometimes fallacious when the authority of the person is not
I'm
relevant for the
suggesting it
appeal
would be
that's being
fallacious
made.
here, obviously.
But in this case, an appeal to expert consensus is not fallacious because the people who are most likely to be well informed on a particular topic are going to be the people who are experts in that topic. And
Okay, so
secondly,
why isn't-
they are more
why-
likely to be correct if more of them are in agreement on that
Then why
topic.
don't
Then you're
all
less
of the
likely
first
to
world
avoid
countries in the world
outliers.
agree on this consensus? Why isn't
don't
it different countries that have
agree on
very
what
nice
consensus?
scientific programs? Why do they disagree with the consensus that America has?
Consensus on what? On the difference between
On
sex
climate
and gender?
change. And another one as well. Why does the European Union
On
why
climate
do they
change.
have a
What
different
consensus are we
consensus
disagreeing
on
on?
vaccines than the United States? Why is that?
What consensus
If it's
is
all
different?
about
Give me an
science
example.
and it
Give me an
has-
example.
And it just
Give me
has
an
to do with
example.
science.
Give
Why
me
are
an
there
example.
discrepancies in the
Give me an
international
example.
community, even though they all have great scientific programs?
Give me an example.
The vaccine programs in the EU versus the United States. What's
Okay,
recommended?
what's the difference in consensus?
There are more vaccines recommended in the US than there are in the EU.
Okay, that's a policy decision, not a consensus.
Yeah,
What's
so the
what's
consensus
difference
would be
in
that those
consensus?
vaccines should not be mandated in the EU.
Scientific
and the
consensus
in
is not
America
about
that they should
scientific
be mandated.
consensus isn't normative.
You really can't
What are you
stop
doing?
interrupting, can you? You can't even let me get a point.
That's super ironic. So scientific consensus isn't normative. Scientific consensus is descriptive. So you're making a category error.
I'd love you to answer the question or actually confront what I'm saying.
I just
instead
did.
of
I
worry
called
about
it a category
semantics.
error. Are you not tracking?
Okay, let me ask you this. You said earlier that there were two parts to the anti-science. What was the second part?
Okay, so you weren't paying attention. The second part
It was
is when
policy.
yeah, it's
So if
policy
the policies
and
are
yes, it's
different
policy.
in different countries, it would be indicative that maybe the consensus or what we think is right is different. So for instance, in the EU, they think that certain vaccines should be
I see
mandated
where the
because
confusion
they
is.
are helpful and they don't hurt people. In the
I
United
see what the
States,
confusion is.
they
I can
say that
clarify if
these
that would help.
vaccines that are not mandated in the EU should be
Mhm.
mandated. So why is the consensus, why is the policy different? Why is the law of the land different, even though they're both
because
scientifically on the same par?
Because they're going to have different levels of what is it called? Not threat assessment, of risk assessment, right? But the important part, the second part of the
Very
definition is
vague
not
answer
just
for that. It's incredible.
It's-
You
it's
just
very-
explained
it's
away
very
the
clear.
difference in the vaccine thing literally by just saying, well, it's just just different things. Like I
thought that you were I thought you were complaining about me interrupting you. Do you want me to answer?
Well, I thought you gave your answer.
No, I wasn't done. I was still
a very
talking.
specific answer in one sentence. I thought I could
I
respond
was,
after you ended.
No, I was still talking. Yeah. So the relevant point is that the second feature of the anti-science definition is not just policy. It is specifically
So now we're changing the
taking.
definition.
This
Or
is
we're
the
changing
definition.
your
This is
second
literally this is literally the definition that I read off at the beginning. It is specifically undermining the institutions and procedures that produce scientific knowledge that's politically inconvenient. That's the policies. Those are the kinds of policies that indicate anti-science behavior. That's
Okay, so let me
that's
ask you
exactly
this.
what I said.
Okay.
However, 15 minutes
Okay.
ago, nothing was
By your
changed. I don't know
definition.
why you accused me of changing my definition. This is the definition I've been using consistently for months, perhaps years. It's always
let
the
me
same
ask you
definition.
So, in terms of like the different food differences of what's allowed in the EU, vaccines, the stance on climate change of places like Russia and China, obviously we have a massive, massive disagreement internationally between first world powers that really should have access to this kind of science. So, would you suggest that everybody who disagrees with, let's say, like the United States' stance on climate change, all of those scientists in all of those countries, they either are not capable of understanding the issue or they're anti-science because if they could understand the issue, they just don't want to, and they're going a different way. Is that what you're suggesting?
No, not at all. I don't understand. In fact, I don't even understand what you're saying. What do you mean disagrees with the U.S.?
Yeah, like, so for instance, if scientists in the US say that we think climate change is so bad that in 25 years, there's going to be like an extinction level event for humans. if every other first world country on the planet, in the East at least, let's just say China and Russia, if those two countries openly disagree with that, and all of their science that they believe says that that is just absolutely not true, and that's not the case, what do you think about those countries? Do you just think that they are not scientifically able to figure it out?
If there is disagreement, amongst international communities about some aspect of climate change, say American scientists say one thing and Chinese scientists say another thing and Russian scientists say a third thing, then there's no consensus about that.
No, great. Okay, so there's not.
Fortunately, there is consensus.
So
there is consensus. There is consensus about climate change being human caused
all over the fucking world. How incredible is that?
I'm not relying on American scientists to make this claim.
Okay, name one Russian scientist that is making this claim that you support.
I don't know any Russian scientists offhand. I can go find one though if you want. Do you want me to find one?
Where is the science coming from? What country is this coming from?
International agreements. And by the way, like even Xi Jinping,
where's the research being done? By who?
Internationally, it's done everywhere.
You don't even fucking know, dude.
Do you want me to list?
Here like acting like everyone's an idiot except for you. It's like the peak like.
Well, let me just go find a Russian scientist for you.
Retard. Good luck, dude. Holy shit.
Oh, he ran. I didn't even kick him. He ran. Let's just go. And this will be super easy. So I don't know any Russian scientists' names offhand, right? You know, I don't think that that's a kind of an expected thing. But let's just look Russian scientist climate scientist consensus. Let's just Google it. The Moscow Times. I actually don't know. Maybe there is a growing movement in Russia that is rejecting climate science. Let's read this. This is from the Moscow Times. Climate skeptics muddy Russians' understanding of warming planet. This is from 2023. Warming is about to end, and the cause is not humans, but the interplay between the sun and the earth. Currently, we are in a favorable period, but we will inevitably transition to an unfavorable cold one around 2030 to 2035. This statement by Andrei Fedotov, director of the Limnological Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences, was published in an interview this month by RAS, the country's leading scientific institution. Fedotov, a doctor of geological and mineralogical sciences, had cited his studies of Lake Baikal and historic climate epochs, warning, "When the ice age comes, you will feel it immediately." His claim stands in stark contrast to the global scientific consensus on man-made climate change and the ongoing warming trend highlighted by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, an internationally accepted authority. Though Russia is warming 2.5 times as fast as the rest of the planet, some of its scientists, RAS members and public figures regularly voice denials of climate science, sowing confusion among the populace. In May, the RAS's Eurasian Economic Integration Council said that Earth's warming is primarily due to the outflow of potassium isotope from the Earth's depths, and linked local climate catastrophes to the increasing emission of natural hydrogen, which creates ozone holes. The IPCC, in contrast, states that human release of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, have unequivocally led to global warming. So, it does look like the Russian scientists are being anti-science, yeah. This is a great example of an institution, and of course this is not so surprising because Russian institutions, perhaps not about Russians in general, but Russian institutions tend to be fairly disconnected from the rest of the world just because of the political divides. It's perhaps not so surprising. So there you have it. We have a super chat from Jack Fetter with the $5. Oh, I need to write down when he left. Sorry. It's like 1:59 or something. From Jack Fetter with the effing MAGA, a total of 195 parties, 194 countries plus the EU have joined the Paris Agreement, the international treaty to combat climate change. In fact, has Russia joined the Paris Agreement? Yes, Russia is a party to the Paris Agreement. It signed the climate accord on April 22nd, 2016. So even Russia, which has climate skeptics in it, is a party of the Paris Agreement. So that's kind of weird, isn't it? Isn't that a little weird? Sorry, I have to hydrate a little bit. All right, let's bring up another guest. Let's bring up Carter's Farm. Carter's Farm. Carter's Farm, how's it? Carter's Farm, how's it going?
All right, you?
I'm doing all right. Carter's Farm, are you MAGA?
Yeah.
All right,
Live
Carter's
long and
Farm.
prosper, brother.
Live long and prosper indeed. So Carter, do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions before we get started?
Go ahead.
All right, let me just write down your name. So you would call yourself MAGA, right?
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that humans are the main cause of climate change?
To what extent?
The main cause?
No.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to young children and infants are generally safe and effective?
No.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
No.
Okay, cool. I appreciate your candor. So were you around for when I explained what I mean by anti-science?
Yeah, I can agree with you there that, Democrats seem to just, if they say it's 100% fact and true, and that's the way it is. And the Republicans are like, wait, that might not be so true.
Yeah, so you're in
I don't
agreement.
disagree with MAGA as anti-science.
Okay. By the way, are you a Trekkie?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. Who's your favorite captain? There's a right answer, by the way.
Oh, fuck. What?
You're not a Trekkie. You would know.
Yeah.
You would have an opinion.
It's the one I grew up with.
Picard. It's got to be Picard, right?
No, it was the one after him.
Cisco?
No, was
Janeway.
William Shatner.
Shatner was before. How old are you?
52.
You didn't grow up with Shatner?
He came in the 80s, didn't he?
No, he came in the 60s.
I started watching. I grew up with Picard, I believe, but
Picard was the bald guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love all the new Star Trek and the old ones. So I was watching where Spock or whatever they put that worm in the guy's ear. I was in the movie theater.
So why'd you want to come up, Carter, if you agree that MAGA's anti-science?
I believe science is a weapon. I don't believe.
Interesting take.
That is like you claim that it's like car emissions. Carbon falls out of the atmosphere, and then I'm so anti. If we have one problem, we can fix it. Why are we gonna? If we keep doing this and we got X amount of time left, why would we switch to something else? And because it's like the batteries, dude. That's really not as efficient, but hopefully they can get there because solar's come a long way. But then they spray this stuff in the atmosphere, and it causes, half of the sunlight not to make it to Earth.
What?
So it's
what are we talking about? What are we doing?
The climate change, combating it. They spray the chemtrails. But it's not necessarily a chemtrail.
Chemtrails aren't being sprayed, and they're certainly not being sprayed to combat climate change.
No, when they do.
Are you talking about cloud seeding?
Yeah, and stuff
cloud
like
seeding
that.
Isn't to combat climate change, it's to combat droughts.
Well, they have this stuff on the ships out in the California where they were spraying reflective material, so it would reflect back most of the sunshine, so it wouldn't be as hot.
I haven't heard of this. This seems neat. What's it called?
It was on 2 ships. It's they spray aluminum in the air, little aluminum particles, and it reflects the sunshine. So when you got the solar, you're only getting that. It's only operating at 50%.
Is this true?
Oh yeah.
I guess that there was there was an outdoor trial that took place on the deck of the USS Hornet in Alameda.
Is that in California?
Alameda is in California, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a trial. I don't think it actually happened. The goal was to push salty, misty skyward with cooling the Earth. Of course, I don't think that they succeeded, and I guess it actually stopped. Like the city officials ordered the test to pause to review the potential environmental and health impacts. So it doesn't seem like it's like actively happening.
But okay, on the chemtrail shit, I've actually seen a chemtrail just stop in the middle of the air. I know that plane didn't land.
What do you mean it's stop in the middle of the air?
It just, as it's going across the atmosphere, it just stops.
What do you mean it stops?
There's
It's
no
a
more trail
trail,
coming
isn't
out
it?
of the plane.
Okay.
Hey, what?
Okay.
Yeah. So what, did the atmosphere just get warm there and it not cause it, or they're
I
spraying
mean,
stuff in
look,
the air?
I can't explain some anecdote that you saw.
Well, anyway,
Like,
that's
I don't
not
know
my
what to
point.
tell you, man.
All right. Well, that's not even my point.
Okay, what's your point?
Scientists can believe to a certain extent. There's like, they say what, 98% of scientists believe this, and
It's
it's
something like
like
that of climate scientists, anyway.
Yeah, but it's not to the same extreme. It's like 40% believe in 1,000 years. Oh, I believe without a shadow
believe in
of a doubt
1,000
that
years
seven, huh?
Believe in
That
1,000 years what?
Humans, if we keep going the way we could go, would end the world. And then
Wait, who said anything about ending the world? We're just talking about whether or not humans cause climate change.
well, 9 billion people are going to do something to affect, but
Yeah,
what
and
effect?
the effect is climate change. It's getting hotter and drier, and desertification is happening in some places.
Okay,
Forestation
what
is
about the
happening in other
underwater
places.
volcano?
Increasing tidal flooding is happening in other places. Go ahead.
The underwater volcano that went off like in 2021 that caused that would heighten the warming. And
Yeah,
as that
except it
shit
doesn't
settles,
really.
you think it doesn't?
Yeah, in fact, this has been studied. It turns out that volcanic forcing, which is what you're talking about here, it does have a temporary effect, but it doesn't have any long-term effect.
Right. So if you're taking data
it's not,
with that,
it's not the reason. Yeah, so you can subtract it off. You can see that there's a long-term warming trend being caused by CO2 emissions, even after you account for things like volcanic emissions or volcanic eruptions.
okay, what is a glacier?
A glacier is like a frozen. It's like an ice river that kind of pours down
Ice that hasn't
across
melted
land.
from the ice age.
Yeah, I mean it's from the ice age. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean we're still technically in an ice age because we have glaciers still and because we have ice caps, but
So that was what, 10,000 years ago?
we're still in an ice age. The peak of the ice age was 12,000 years ago or something like that.
Okay, so 12,000 years, what have we been doing?
Well,
warming.
for most of that, we were kind of just wandering around, and then we started building
the Earth
cities
has
for
been
some
warming.
reason. No, it hasn't.
How'd the ice melt?
So what was happening is that there was slight changes, and there's something called the Milankovitch cycle, which also causes slight changes in climate. But the point is over the last 300 years, we've seen a sharp increase in warming, and that's the thing that's correlated with increased and actually caused by increased CO2
If
emissions.
we go back 1,000 years,
we
what
don't see any sort of dramatic warming or cooling like this.
right? So you could cherry pick the data.
No. What I'm saying is that like if you regardless of how far you go back, you will see that it's like pretty regular, pretty slow, or the changes are slow, the changes are pretty kind of random. And then starting about 250 years ago, it just spikes up.
Okay.
This
And
isn't cherry
then-
picking the data. This is just a recent event.
How long have we been recording temperature?
Depends on where you're looking.
Let's look anywhere. You won't.
Oh, more than 100. What do you mean I won't?
Oh, anywhere you want.
Oh, anywhere I want. Okay, yeah. So I think going back as far, and we can just pull this up. I actually just had had a chart open just a second ago. What was it? It was weather station. Globe. There was a nice chart that I pulled up just a second ago, and I might have to pull it up again. I just had it. Yeah, it's here. Oh no. Okay, actually, I need to open up my history because I just had it and I lost it. Because it was a really great chart. I should probably add it to my.
Well, we discovered or took
Yeah,
America,
yeah,
whatever you want to say, 250 years ago. So
Here we go. Okay. It's this chart. This is a really great chart. I should put this in my notes. Here you go. So this is a chart of global climate network temperature changes. So what we have is that in the Americas and in Europe, we have station records that go back more than 150 years. In other parts of the world, it's significantly less. So like see where the dark spots are. So like in Europe, we have dark spots here. I don't know if you can see this. In Europe, we have dark spots here, and in America, we have dark spots here. So those places have records that go back more than 150 years. And then if you look in like the rest of the United States, we have records that go back about 100 years. If you look at
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine
so,
if you want to say 250 years.
Yeah, sure.
But
so,
mathematically, how old is the Earth?
4.5 billion years old.
Now take it. Would you say 100? We'll give you 200 years of collecting temperature.
Well, so we have temperature data that isn't directly collected by thermostats or by thermometers rather. That is far older than the temperature stations.
Ice cores.
Ice cores are one example, but for example, there was a nice study that was done that examined the skeletons of coral in the Caribbean that you can use because of the way this particular coral grows. Its growth rate depends on the temperature of the water, and so you can use
evolution?
What about it?
Would that change?
this is like over the course of hundreds of years, not millions of years. So like we can still get perfectly good data from this. But no, this is not the kind of thing that changes. This is a stable species for at least the last 1,000 years per se. But anyway, the point is that you can look at growth rings in the coral, and you can use that to infer what the temperature of the water was. And you can see the temperature rise starting about 200 years ago, and it wasn't really changing prior to that.
So 200 years ago, and the Earth is
when it started is when you start seeing this kind of temperature rise happening.
Okay.
Although it definitely kicked up more 150 years ago, and it got even faster 100 years ago.
So 150 years ago, what were we doing?
Emitting tons and tons. We were burning lots of coal is what we were doing.
In what, people's houses?
And in factories.
150 years ago?
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution.
It was, what year was that one on?
The Industrial Revolution wasn't a single year, but it was like the mid 1800s.
So 1850s, what you're saying?
We could say that. Yeah, that would be like 175 years ago is when the Industrial Revolution started, although perhaps it started a little bit earlier, like maybe in the 1820s or something. But the point is that yes, indeed we can say that humans started dumping lots of CO2 into the atmosphere in the mid to late 1800s. And it's just gotten worse ever since.
And with the with all the data you have right there, 250 years of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How old is the Earth? Divide that. What percentage of the data do you
tiny? It's
have?
a tiny fraction. But the relevant point is that we have ice core data that goes back 800,000 years. We've never seen temperature.
That just gives you.
We've never seen temperature changes happen this quickly, and we've never seen CO2 changes happen this quickly.
And how long have we been recording that?
So the ice core data gets us 800,000 years or so.
And that's for just right there where they're standing, isn't it? Or is, I mean, you can somehow.
But I mean, like the atmosphere is pretty uniform. Like it uniformizes pretty quickly. So if you have what you're not going to see is that you're not going to see a significant difference on average of the CO2 levels in like the South Pole compared with like Greenland or Saudi Arabia. Like if you see a sharp increase in CO2 levels at the South Pole, you'll likely see a sharp increase everywhere.
Yeah, just because of the way the wind blows.
Yeah. The atmosphere is, it's just going to uniformize.
Oh yeah. And then you're saying the ice cores. Who has access to that data?
I think it's publicly available.
Yeah, but
we actually have multiple ice cores. There's some from Greenland and some from Antarctica.
And I just don't trust them because it's like, because they can say it any way they want. Do you think we've been to the moon?
Oh, do you not?
I don't know. I mean, how do you lose the technology? How you're not able to do it?
We didn't lose the technology. We have the technology.
Oh, they said
it's
it
just
became
expensive.
too expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Yeah.
Do you know how much? And just curious, because this is kind of off topic. Do you know how much of our national budget we spent on NASA when we were going to the moon?
Probably 20%.
It was 5%. Do you know how much?
I know now it's like 1 or 2%.
It's like 0.5%.
Yeah, I know it's a lot.
So
lower.
like we're just like obviously like it was expensive. We spent for every $20 that somebody paid in taxes, $1 was going to getting to the moon. Like we don't spend nearly that much, so of course we're not going to do it.
But with that much money, could you fake it?
Probably not. Not with 1960s tech.
I think you could fake it. I think anybody.
Not with 1960s tech. Have you seen 1960s tech?
That was pretty much alive back then. Just 13 years later, I came along.
1960s tech is terrible. Anyway, but yeah, this is a good point. Like we have moon rocks, right?
Yeah.
Where do they come from? It's not the moon.
Well, you're saying the moon, but dude, I was outside working just a year ago, digging a trench in the dark, and all of a sudden the whole ground just lit up. And I was like, "Why is it daylight?" And I looked up in the sky, and there's a meteor coming through the atmosphere, and it hit Austin.
So you think all of the moon rocks that we have came from meteors?
I don't know. I've never. It's like you want to say the Earth's round or flat. I'm not going to argue with you because I don't know. And you're saying scientists can do this or that. I don't think they would lie to us about that. But something spinning 1,200 miles an hour and water just sitting there. I don't know. I'm not getting into that. That's 10 years of my life.
You can understand that like basically everything you've said has been anti-science, right?
I'm just saying. Okay, on the science with the vaccines, if you don't get them, what's the natural immunity? How are our bodies? How long have we been on this planet and without vaccines?
Oh, sorry, one sec. A while. Do you know how long we've been dying to polio?
And what happened? Polio was damn near eradicated before the vaccine ever came out.
It wasn't eradicated. What are you
I
talking?
believe
Polio
it was-
still exists.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It's not like it went through like a.
It was eradicated
had
in the
a
U.S.
gene it was able to
because
attack.
it was eradicated. It was eradicated in the U.S. because of the vaccine.
I don't have a vaccine for polio.
I don't believe that, actually.
I'm the one that stopped. I do not have that shot on my arm.
How old are you? What year were you born? If you don't mind me asking.
52. 73. It's 72 has it. 72 got it. Or is it the measles?
Polio vaccines, I should say in the U.S. So the U.S. stopped using the oral polio vaccine in 2000. It transitioned entirely to the inactivated polio vaccine, which is an injectable shot. So you probably got the oral polio vaccine.
I don't think I got any of them because they were stopping the shot.
No,
it was doing something.
They weren't using the shot.
Which one is the shot on people's arms that you can tell just by looking at them?
Chicken pox, I think.
No, nobody got those.
What do you
We
mean
all just
nobody got
chicken
those?
pox.
I mean,
We
like,
all
so the people. So there's also smallpox vaccines. True, that's true too.
That might have been.
But yeah,
the
you
one.
almost certainly got a polio vaccine. You were definitely old enough to have gotten.
Maybe it was a smallpox. Is that the one with the scar on the arm?
It definitely does. But like, yeah, I mean, like, smallpox has also been eradicated, right? Why do you think smallpox was eradicated?
I don't believe it was a vaccine. I just believe if you got it, you passed. Your mother passed on the.
No, smallpox is infectious, right?
Yeah, but you have antibodies, and your body is. The human body is capable of like building itself up.
Then why did it take? Why did it take until 1977, perhaps 1980, for humans to no longer have smallpox?
Where was it started? I mean, it moves across the earth.
Yeah, except it doesn't exist anywhere on the planet anymore.
And then it came up with the. If it was existing, when did we get the vaccine for it?
I think the first vaccine was for cowpox. It was very early. The smallpox vaccine, I don't know. Pox vaccine created. It was created in 1796.
And I'll agree that that vaccine doesn't have the same stuff in it as what the others do. I'm not 100%
Okay, so
anti-vaccine.
smallpox vaccines are good. Just all the other ones aren't.
Well, they might not be good now. And then the whole
not?
fact that they were putting I won't say they're
Like,
not
this is
effective. The whole
they've
reason
been
I
like-
didn't get the
they've
COVID
been-
vaccine
they're
is I knew it
probably-
wasn't going to kill me.
So smallpox vaccines are probably the most important scientific discovery humans have ever made in history.
To some extent, I would say the IV.
No, not even close. Not even
The
close.
people don't survive more to the IV.
No, not even close.
The smallpox kill everybody it comes in contact
Yeah, perhaps next to antibiotics. Smallpox is extremely deadly.
What's the death rate?
Who knows? Let's find out.
Yeah.
30% in unvaccinated individuals. Jesus Christ, that's so bad.
It is, but that's still 70%.
That's like 1 in 3 people who got it would die.
Basically. But that's still
That's like so bad.
Yeah, but what does it take to repopulate?
What?
Once those people
What are
are
you
dead,
talking about? Smallpox spreads. It's not inherited. It spreads.
and there's no once you get it, you're going to get it again and again and again. You're not passing on that gene.
It's not a gene.
You're not passing on from the mother. The mother will not.
It's not from the mother. This is not a genetic heritable thing. This is an antibody. That if you don't have it, likely you will get sick. And you have a 30% chance of dying.
On?
No, antibodies are not passed on like that. They're not genetics.
And then how would your body develop that?
You either get the disease and you fight it off successfully.
What would
in
cause
which
your
case
body
you
to
have
fight off successfully? Nothing
luck.
you inherited.
Literally luck. Or you die. What vaccines are good for is that they give you a way to make the antibodies so that you don't have to get the disease first.
And that's a non-mRNA. What would the COVID vaccine do for people?
It gave them antibodies that specifically
It
target something
absolutely
called the
did
spike
nothing.
protein.
They're finding
Yeah, it
out.
does.
No.
You get like after you get the COVID vaccine, you can actually just
More people
detect
died
the
with
antibodies in the
vaccine
blood.
than without in COVID.
That's not true.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
That's just made up. What's your source?
They made it up. They're
What's your source?
controlling the data.
What's your source? So then why
Google
wait,
it.
so okay. Hold on. Let's just do this in real time. We're just gonna Google it in real time, okay? Okay. Did more people die from the COVID vaccine than from COVID itself?
No, more people died who had the vaccine than from COVID, who didn't, non-vaccinated.
Far more people died from COVID-19 than from the vaccines.
Of those far more people, were they vaccinated?
No, the vast majority of people who died were not vaccinated.
80% of the population was said to have been vaccinated.
Yeah, and the vast
How many
majority of
people died?
the vast majority of deaths came from the unvaccinated people.
Who controls that data?
What do you mean who controls that data? Whoever
Who
was
puts that
recording
data
it.
in the computer?
Who
'Cause
puts
then
the
we can
data
go
in
to-
the computer? It's in. Hold on. Hold on. I have to do a thing. What do you mean? Who puts that data in the computer?
Exactly that. Who's in charge? If me and you are running it for a fucking position in government, and I count the votes, what are the odds are of you winning?
One sec. We're doing a bit. I don't know why it's not loading. Load, damn it.
Yeah.
One sec. You know what I'm about to do? You know what's about to happen?
You referring to me?
Did you find the files?
I don't even know what they look. What do they look like?
They're in the computer.
They're in the computer?
Yeah, they're definitely in there. I just don't know how he labeled them.
I got it.
You gotta figure it out.
Roger.
I'm sorry. You said it and I'm like, I have to. But
That's
like,
fine.
look. Are we trusting the data or are we not? Because like, if you don't trust the data,
To an
then
extent.
you're just doing the anti-science stuff.
The anti-science can, or the science can be bought. If I'm paying you, and it's, I agree with you almost, but not in the way you were getting there, because I believe, what do we do to all the ground out here? How do we grow our food? We spray chemicals.
Yeah, we use things like fertilizers and we use pesticides and yeah, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what does that do to this planet?
Depending on the pesticides and depending on the fertilizers, it's not great, and which is why a lot of people, rage about pesticide usage. Now, fertilizer doesn't seem to have significant negative effects. Fertilizer is actually, as far as I know, it's actually like super great for growing plants. But depending on the pesticide, they can be really bad.
Yes. And then antibacterial soap.
What about it?
When they started using that, it wound up in the 80s anyway. If everybody washed their car and all this shit, and car washes from battery oil, and we just basically had everything drain into the ditch and go to the ocean. So that's why I am not.
That's why you're anti.
No. That's why I'm. No, I'm just anti technology of what they're doing with the vaccines and how they put so many of them in. I believe, like you say, smallpox. Maybe that's a good one. There's some good ones, but then
What's
there
bad
are
about
some.
the MMR vaccine? What's bad about it? Sorry, not the MMR. What's bad about the mRNA vaccine?
How they put it, what they give them 12 at a time or 50
What?
at a time to these little kids.
What are you talking about?
When you go to the doctor, you
How many
get,
how many vaccines do you think are on the violated the misinformation policy? Gotta go, Carter. You gotta go. I don't know how Dean and Parker don't get their guests kicked off. I mean, I guess they do, but bummer. Well, let's read some super chats. From Zachary Zollner with the $5. Are you documenting these interactions such as times and names? Not times. I'm just documenting names just because I'm interested in like the kinds of people who want to come up to talk about this. I'm curious what their views are with regards to kind of like these 3 hot button issues in science. From Jack Fetter with the $2, a self-aware conspiracy theorist? I don't know if he was self-aware. From Phantom with the £5, any science other than vaccines and climate change you think MAGA denies? Those are the only 2 you seem to mention. Yeah, they deny the science of psychology, neurology, and sociology with regards to what gender is. That's like a big hot button issue for a lot of people, and they seem to deny that. they seem to, even after controlling for religion, they seem to be more likely to reject evolutionary science. It was Republicans, after all, who were pushing to remove evolution from textbooks in the early 2000s, and this is still borne out today. So yeah, I mean, there's only a few things that are hot button enough issues that they reject the science, but those are the relevant things. Those are the relevant examples. From Sustaining Nimbus with the $2, we found the pro-smallpox wing of the GOP. Indeed, we did. And yes, okay, just for the record, I know that mothers do pass on antibodies. It's not passed on genetically, right? So you can get antibodies through breast milk. I think you can get antibodies through through being in utero, but these are not passed on genetically, right? And so like that's why it is it can be important to have for example, vaginal births rather than C-sections, because then you get access to a different kind of or a different kind of bacterial environment that can help your immune system. But this is multi-guest live access was restricted. Now I have to go appeal this, which is annoying. I don't even know how to appeal this. How do I appeal this? We'll finish reading super chats in a second. Where is the appeal button? I know it's somewhere. Might be on my phone. Live. Wait, it says my live stream was discontinued. Guest live access restricted. All right, let's see what the clip is that they're restricting me. Here, they have a clip. We're gonna play it. Yeah, I mean, like, no. This is. I'm gonna have to appeal this. This is really annoying. Oh, they can't even provide the clip. Love that for me. Okay, fine. Well, then we'll just click next, and then we will click restore your live access by completing an optional policy training to better understand our guidelines. Oh, let's do that. Take this training. I'll be given 5 questions. Okay. Encouraging people to follow their doctor's advice for cancer treatment. No, it's not a violation. Cool. I'm glad I got that right. Encouragement to seek professional help for mental health issues. No, it's not a violation. Sharing verified current news footage with accurate context. No, it's not a violation. I hate this. This is so toxic. Claiming vaccines cause severe diseases without evidence. Yes, it is a violation. This is so stupid. Reporting verified health warnings from official sources. No, it's not a violation. We did it. We did it, y'all. Training complete. Okay. You can submit an appeal, learn more about our guidelines, and view more details. View details. I would like to submit the appeal. Do I have... Okay, it didn't even work. It didn't even work. All right, let's read some super chats. Oh no, it's back. Okay, we got it. It's back. Cool. From Sustaining Nimbus with the $5, this is why the GOP loves pumping mercury and lead into the environment. This helps them grow their base. Indeed it does. From Ryan Gasserud with the $2, buddy, I'm waiting in the Discord. Okay. I'll bring you up next. From Chessbutt with the $5, would you ever make the results of your survey questions public? Maybe for members? Maybe. Was it Zoolander that got me? Was it really? Okay, let's bring up T-Gram, who has been waiting very patiently. T-Gram, welcome back. I don't know why I can't hear you, but I can't hear you.
You can hear me now.
I can hear you now, yeah.
Woo! What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing all right. Kind of annoyed by the whole TikTok thing, but
yeah.
But all right, what you got for me? So we were talking about cases where MAGA has gone against its political interests to accept the science. Fire.
Yeah. That's where we left off. I want to officially say to everybody, I am not driving, so we're good now. Sorry about that earlier. But yeah, so I just have a couple of quick questions for you. And I've been listening to some of the other guests that you've been having on. First and foremost, honestly, I really do think that it's pretty cool what you're doing. Kind of helps me also get a good framework of, what I believe. I would definitely consider myself MAGA currently, but I'm really happy to have these debates. So thanks for having me on. Okay, so my next question here for you is this. My specific question to you is in regards, this is where I wanted to go earlier, is in this idea of scientific consensus. So,
Wait, hold on. Before we start, you did say that you were going to go look for cases where MAGA is going with the scientific consensus, even against its own best interest, political interest, right?
Yeah, I'm all
okay. So you have examples of
that. Yes, I do. But if I could just maybe follow this line of thought first, that would be good, at least just for me.
Sure.
Sorry if you're just excited to get into that, but I just have a couple more quick questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
Okay, so in regards to scientific consensus, let me kind of frame the picture, because what you were discussing with me earlier was your concern is, there's a movement of people, of influencers, political leaders that are essentially going against what the consensus is for scientists across the board. And when they go against the scientific consensus, they're specifically doing so in such a way that like benefits them or profits them or their donors or whatever. Is that correct?
No, what I'm saying is that they're happy to be pro-science or whatever, so long as it's not politically awkward.
Okay,
look, Trump. I'm sure Trump loves chemistry or something, right? Like he loves nuclear science because that's like good politically for him. And his uncle was a nuclear scientist. Well, like he loves that, but that's not politically inconvenient. So he doesn't have a political reason to reject that.
Got it. So I'm with you there. Yeah, I guess what you're really arguing is like the basis of which they're doing the rejection, right? Are they rejecting it because they have some sort of donor or motivation externally, or is it actually like whatever they're reviewing, whatever data they're looking at, is it more because they're coming up with like an actual solid conclusion, right? So like we had a whole bunch of data that said the sky is blue for 7 hours a day. And then they're like, no, the sky's green for some political motive. That would obviously be like anti-science.
So the thing is that it's often very, very hard to actually figure out why somebody does what they do, especially if they're doing it for like, cynical reasons. They won't tell you why. So that's why I'm not relying on like quoted admissions of motivation. I'm just saying, look, is it politically inconvenient? Would it be politically inconvenient for them to be in favor of XYZ thing? If it would be, and then we see that they're being against or XYZ consensus, and then we see that they're being against that consensus, that's enough. Like you probably won't find any quotes of Donald Trump saying, aha, climate change is true, but I'm going against it because it hurts my coal donors. Like you'll never see him twirling his mustache and doing that, but that doesn't mean that's not why he's doing it.
Yeah, sometimes he's a little bit truthful. Like the whole Venezuela thing, he was definitely like, we went in for the coal or for the oil.
Yeah, that's like, crazy. Okay. That's a crazy thing that happened.
So sometimes he does say that actually, but yeah, I divulge. I'm really having contention with you saying MAGA specifically is anti-science though, because I try to have you define it. I'm really trying to have you like frame it in a better way, maybe because I'm really still maybe I'm a little bit confused. But it sounds like you would say that is it possible for someone to be MAGA and pro-science?
Yeah, sure.
Like, do you think
I'm not referring
possible?
to individuals. My point is at the demographic level, MAGA people tend to be more likely to reject political or scientific consensuses when they're politically inconvenient.
Done.
And
totally with you.
And at the policy making level, like where you have like, cabinet members, when you have Trump himself, when you have Congress people, senators, governors, etc. At the policy level, these people are making policies that are harming our ability to conduct science in ways that are politically convenient for them.
Right. Yeah, I think our definitions of just being anti-science are different. I think that you definitely have like more of a you're looking towards the political leaders, you're looking towards the actual, MAGA kind of movement.
How else would you characterize an ideology besides just looking at the demographic characteristics of the population and then what the political leaders say and do?
Ask that question again, please.
Look, so as far as I'm concerned, you can't a political movement doesn't have thoughts. So a political movement can't be like anti-science itself. When we say that a political movement is anti-science, what we're really saying is we're saying something about the leaders and we're saying something about the normies, the peasants, if you will. And so as far as I'm concerned, as long as you're capturing both facets, that the peasants believe a certain thing and that the leaders behave a certain way, that's enough. I don't know how else you would capture this idea.
Okay, no, I'm totally with you. Would you? Well, I'm a little confused because you just said you're not saying a political movement is anti-science, while also saying
I'm not
right
saying
behind you, MAGA
so.
is anti-science.
So yeah, okay. Let me clear up. So like a political movement isn't a person. So like a political movement doesn't have opinions.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So when I say that MAGA
so
isn't like literally anti-science, it's because it's not a person with opinions. What I mean is that the political movement is anti-science in the way that I've laid out.
I think we might have. Hold on. I think I might have won this debate. so hold on one second. So you're saying
why did you cut me off when I was explaining it? It's kind of bad faith.
Sorry, I got it. No, I'm sorry. I just got excited. That's my bad.
Look, so the point is that like when if I were to say that you are anti-science, that's saying that you hold certain positions about science, right? But MAGA, a political movement doesn't hold positions, but a political movement can be anti-science in a useful way. We can use that that's a useful way to describe political movements. Political movements can also be anti-Semitic, even though political movements can't actually dislike Jewish people. It's the people who make them up who dislike Jewish people, for example, right? So I'm saying that MAGA is anti-science in the same way that I'm saying that the KKK is anti-black.
Okay, but the KKK being anti-black is like part of their core, like doctrine, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying MAGA's core doctrine is anti-science.
I think it's an intrinsic part of being MAGA. Yeah.
Why? Why would you say that?
It's borne out in the data.
Okay. Okay. Yep. The data that is specifically scientific consensus, correct?
Well, no, it's borne out in their rejection of the scientific consensuses.
Got it.
And their actions to dismantle our scientific institutions, that too.
Got it. Just a couple of quick questions here. Do you believe scientific consensus can be wrong or no?
Of course.
Okay. And so, okay, that's good. And then would you believe that other political movements outside of MAGA can be influenced by outside of political scientific consensus and rather be influenced by donors, or is it just MAGA specifically?
MAGA is currently the leading political party in the country, and it is probably the worst one that we've ever had for an example of anti-science sentiment in this country, probably at least since I've been alive.
And your big kind of claim to fame to that specifically in this conversation that you've had with other people has been climate change.
Climate change, vaccines, evolution, the age of the Earth. Generally health information. Yeah, I mean, like those are the hot button issues. Oh, also trans things. Surprisingly, MAGA is very anti-science when it comes to trans folks.
Well, I think they just go with more of the biology than they do with like the actual gender or whatever.
Right,
but that's all. But that's all societal. That's not science.
They go with like high school biology. They don't go with like actual biology that like biological researchers conduct.
I mean, I get it, but I think that I feel like you're playing both sides of the coin. Sometimes you say, "Oh yeah, there are biological anomalies, so therefore all of these things you take it to the nth degree." But then another scenario.
What am I saying? You cut out there for a sec. T-Gram, you there? T-Gram. T-Gram?
Is G there?
I can hear you now. Yeah, you cut out there for a minute. I don't know what happened.
Nope, you're good. Yeah, I got a phone call and it cuts Discord off. But anyways, so it sounds like at the very least you were able to help clarify your position a little bit. And
so I want the examples of let's hear the examples that you found.
Yeah. So of Trump supporters or MAGA supporters being specifically.
Oh, you're cutting out again. You there?
Oh my goodness. Yep, I'm back. This guy keeps calling me. We're good. I turned it off. We should be fine.
Tell him to stop calling you.
Yep, he's done. He's out. He's cut off. Okay. Yeah. So just you were looking for some specific examples of how Trump is pro-science.
Yeah, in a way that's politically inconvenient.
In a way that's politically inconvenient. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I want to just clarify just a couple more things here before I start this though.
We only have so much time.
I'm so sorry. if I do give you examples, like I just feel like if I give you examples, you're not gonna like concede them. Are you gonna approach
It
these in
depends
good
what the
faith?
examples are. If they're like actual good examples, be like, huh, that's a good point. Maybe he does care about science. Maybe he just hates trans people or something.
Yeah, okay. So outside of Trump specifically, I do want to talk about the the abortion debate. You said no because that's more of like an ethics issue. Than,
That's
like,
a moral
actual
issue. I mean,
science.
so the point is that like, and I could just summarize because I've brought up, people bring up abortion here too, and they're like, but
yeah,
the left, like the position of the scientists is that like, yes, of course there's like organic life, there's like organisms that exist, and that those organisms exist from conception. That's not like when life begins. Life is life is not like a life doesn't have a starting point. It's like a continuous process for the last 4 billion years. But the point is that's when you have a brand new organism. But the abortion debate is about when an organism deserves rights, right? It's not really about when life
just to clarify,
is.
you would concede separate DNA at conception for that whatever organism it is.
Yeah,
Sweet.
obviously.
Okay, awesome.
It's not a concession. That's just like obviously biologically true.
I think we agree on.
And
more
by
than
the way,
disagree.
I don't know a single pro-choicer who thinks that that's false.
I hope not. That would be anti-science.
Exactly. So this is not really a scientific debate, is what I'm getting at. There's not a disagreement over the science.
Climate change.
Yeah, what about it?
So obviously this whole CO2 debate, increasing CO2 levels. Can you give me your opinion on just like the actual history of the Earth itself? Like, do you believe that we went through cycles of higher levels of carbon dioxide and monoxide, and then lower levels,
of course.
or no?
Sure, of course.
Okay.
So historically, what's happened in the past is that we've had high temperatures, and those high temperatures result in things like melting ice, especially like methane. What are they called? Clathrates.
Right.
And so higher temperatures historically, like in the ancient past, long before humans existed, led to an increase in CO2 levels rather than vice versa. However, now in the last 200-ish years, we're seeing the reverse correlation.
Okay. It's help explain what that means to me specifically, though. That means that
so
humans
historically,
go ahead.
So there's a feedback between temperature and CO2, right? Because as the temperature goes up, you can see why more CO2 would be emitted, because like there could be there could be things that were frozen that thaw out and then can release their CO2, and that would release more CO2, and so you have a feedback loop. The question is in all these cases where we've seen the climate warm up and CO2 emissions go up, which one causes which, right? Which one is the first one? Which is kind of the originator of the cause. And so historically, long before humans, it was generally the temperature increased first, and then the CO2 emissions followed. Now, in the last 200 years, we're seeing CO2 emissions go up first, and then the temperatures rose afterwards.
Okay.
So this is a different phenomenon. It's still warming, but the cause of the warming is different.
Got it. On the political side now, specifically being people who, want to see either the MAGA movement being pro or anti this specifically, it seems like some of the ways to combat this would be like through renewable energies, right? Like
renewable energies renewable energies. I mean, that's one suggested way. It's not really like a science. That's not like a question of the science. It's like one of the ways that policymakers and engineers and so on have like proposed that we can like try to rein in this issue.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going with this, because that's part of your definition, right? Is the specific policy leaders and electric vehicle makers. I mean, all of those people who are, have special interests, let's say, they have the option here to either follow the science of what we're seeing in regards to climate change, or kind of go with the policymakers or the special interest groups of these higher capitalistic, companies.
So to be clear, the second part of the definition is that we would say that they're anti-science if they undermine or otherwise, if the policymakers either undermine or delegitimize those institutions that produce scientific consensus. It's not just about policy actions. It's about specifically undermining or otherwise not undermining the institutions that produce scientific knowledge.
Got it. That helps me understand a bit more.
So
what specific
by the way,
institutions are you talking about?
So one good example with regards to climate change is the National Center for Atmospheric Research. This was one of the largest climate science research labs in the country. It was a national lab, and Donald Trump's administration wanted to shut it down. That would be an example of undermining the institutions that produce the scientific knowledge.
Who initiated that established body?
The NCAR.
NCIR, yeah. Is there donations that happen to that?
No, it's just a national lab.
Okay, but how do they get funding?
From the federal government.
Specifically, are you sure about that?
Yeah, they're a national lab. They're funded by the federal government.
Got it. So they don't get any other kind of donations from like other
They're a
companies or
federal lab. They're not a private organization.
Okay, sweet. So they don't take donations.
Not that I know of.
except for
Maybe there's like a donation link on their website, but like it's a national lab. This is not like a nonprofit or something.
Got it. But if they did take donations, then they would obviously be in this like compromising position of having to
I don't know.
maybe do science for their special interests.
Maybe, but I think that they receive. We can just go Google this. Maybe you're right. Maybe they do get most of their money from donations.
But you see the point that I'm making with that is like I want to make sure that we're just holding everyone.
The
to the same
primary
standard,
budget
right?
source for the National Center for Atmospheric Research is the National Science Foundation, which sponsors it as a federally funded research and development center. So the primary budget is coming from the NSF. So it's federally funded. I'm not seeing.
Okay.
Let me see if there's any way to get like donations that you can even send. So they are managed by the they're managed by the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research. So that's like a university thing that manages them, but their funding primarily comes from the NSF. It's also supplemented by other federal agencies, I guess.
Okay.
So
Sweet.
yeah, I mean, like
Yeah,
they're a federal thing, and Donald Trump's organization or Donald Trump's administration wanted to shut it down. In fact, I think it's being fought over in the courts right now as to whether or not it can be shut down. But the reason, in fact, this was we were even given the reason why. They say that this was Ross Vaught, who was the director of the White House Office of Management and Budget at the time. This was last year. They wanted to break it down, or they wanted to shut it down because the facility is, quote, one of the largest sources of climate alarmism in the country.
Well, if there's actually something to be alarmed about, then obviously we should probably fund it.
Yeah, so I mean, but he said specifically they're shutting it down because it's a source of climate alarmism, right? That sounds politically motivated to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely with you there. I would just say on the opposite side of things, you definitely understand maybe, I don't know, it gets into the whole political argument. I just want to be known.
You're cutting out again, by the way.
I think sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I just want to be known as a person. I just want to be known as a person who is pro science, and I don't necessarily know if. There's definitely a lot of MAGA people who are pretty crazy. I feel like I'm MAGA myself, and I do associate with those guys. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, I feel like they're just more aligned with what I believe. However, I don't think that. I think there's like a general mistrust in what these groups are. I think a lot of the people hear about, all these cuts, all these different random programs where my taxes are going to that don't make any gosh darn sense. And there's a lot of mistrust because there's been a lot of scenarios, at least in my history, me growing up, of the government specifically saying, trust the science. And then we did, and then it hurt us. And so then we find out that these like political donations. I think COVID was probably a big one, right?
So what you were told to trust the science. What were you told to trust the science about?
One vaccine. Get the vaccine. You're good to go.
I don't think anybody ever said that you won't need boosters. Are you saying that somebody said that? Did like which scientist said
from Fauci?
Did Fauci say you wouldn't need boosters? Let's just Google this. I'm just curious.
One vaccine. Biden said it. I think.
Dr. Fauci. So, and I'm just let's go pull up the source from the AA overview. Let's see what it says. So in the middle of 2021, he said there is no immediate need for a COVID-19 booster for fully vaccinated Americans, but remained open to the possibility in the future, as reports suggest that one major pharmaceutical company plans to lobby government officials to approve booster shots next week. So this was in July of 2021, and he said there's no immediate need, but he remained open to the possibility in the future that there would be boosters. So like, and then Pfizer later, I guess Pfizer a week prior, observed that its vaccine, while effective against the virus, had a decline in efficacy against symptomatic disease over time. The company suggested that as new variants continue to emerge, a booster shot after 6 months may be beneficial. So like, it doesn't seem like there was ever any, by the way, this is from The Guardian. I'm not reading from the AA overview. It's just, this is from The Guardian.
Right.
It's just like not the case that he ever said, oh, you will never need a booster. Like, in fact, this isn't something we say, no, we don't need a boost right now, story has ended forever. There's a lot of work going on to examine this in real time. This is what Fauci said. That's a direct quote from Fauci.
Yeah, I think after they started developing the boosters, that's what he was saying. But on the front end, it was
this is from
definitely the
July.
opposite.
This is from July of 2021. So when did he say you will never need a booster?
Okay, I will get you that information. I'll send it to you on Discord here shortly.
That's fine. But also, I just want to
the-
mention that you still haven't come up with a good example of Trump being pro-science in the sense that, like,
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, 100%. So I actually do kind of like the idea of being relatively, I know that, like, and you were kind of on the fence about it too. You said, there is one way to potentially fight, carbon emissions, which is through solar panels and wind farms and things like that. It seems like the MAGA movement to some degree or another are actually relatively against a lot of the solar initiatives, especially when it comes to EVs. I know the whole Elon Musk thing was super wild. But aside from that, like, the general consensus, at least from what I understand, maybe you don't want to concede this, but from the MAGA movement, is that they're definitely like anti-renewable energy, correct? Yeah. So I think that the reason why that they are so anti-renewable energy is because they actually believe that if there is going to be a huge push for this kind of stuff, it's actually going to be worse for the environment. There's going to be more CO2 emissions, more pollution runoff, burn-off, rather, from the solar panels and from the wind farms. And they definitely do not want to be driving electric vehicles, generally speaking.
okay, so what does this have to do with, like, Trump doing a pro-science thing?
Well, the pro-science would say that we should probably make these initiatives happen, like the Paris Agreement, for example. And instead, what he decides is he goes, no, we're gonna go with what the science states in these particular regards.
Didn't Trump pull us out of the Paris Agreement?
That's exactly correct.
Wouldn't that be an example of doing the anti-science thing, according to you?
Say it again.
Wouldn't that be an
According to
example
me?
of doing the anti-science thing, not the pro-science thing?
No, the pro-science. Okay, sorry. Maybe we don't have our definitions correct. Do you believe that renewable energy sources like wind farms and electric vehicles and solar panels are a very good source of energy against, like, a regular gas vehicle, for example?
Well, electric vehicles aren't a source of energy.
Sorry.
So if you have an electric vehicle, then it is the case that solar power or wind power can power it just as well as gas or coal.
Yeah, that's my bad. I really want to make sure that I'm clear with my definitions. A producer of pollution specifically.
Which is what a producer of pollution? Like
Solar
electric
panels,
cars?
wind farms, electric vehicles, are those good or bad methods in regards to, like, helping solve the climate issue?
They are good. Well, okay, so electric cars are kind of neutral because they're kind of agnostic about where the source of energy comes from. And so, like, if you're burning coal to power your electric car, then it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But yes, solar panels, solar farms, wind farms, these are significantly better for electricity generation regarding CO2 emissions compared with coal or methane or, natural gas.
Can you cite scientific reports that say that specifically?
Yeah, well, okay, so I can go pull up just like an infographic if that would help. Because these are, and these are going to be sourced, of course, but we can, if you want to dig deeper, we can. But let me pull something up.
Maybe my belief in what the scientific consensus on this is incorrect, but from my understanding, it's the exact opposite. That these initial investments on the production of these things, by the time that they would carbon offset themselves, they're usually not even in use at that point anymore. The 25.
No, they pay themselves off. They pay themselves off in like 3 years generally.
I'm sorry to the viewer if I'm being annoying and I just don't know my stuff. I'm actually learning something here, which is kind of fun.
I just want to make sure that so I'll just show you what I'm doing and we can go find it together. CO2 emissions per kilowatt by energy source. So we could pull up any one of these, and these are so like here's one from Stacker, and we can find a whole bunch of these.
But you would call this scientific consensus, by the way?
Oh yeah. Not this particular chart, but like that's the idea. So this is the median life cycle greenhouse gas emissions of renewable versus non-renewable energy sources. They give their source the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Maybe you don't trust it, maybe you do. But this is the kind of chart that we're looking at, and like it's so overwhelmingly better for like solar panels, for wind, for anything aside from coal, oil, and natural gas. It's overwhelmingly better.
What makes you specifically trust a study over another?
I'm not specifically trusting this one. I've seen like 100 of things that say this kind of thing. This was just the first one I found. I can go find others if you want.
Okay, so it's like a quantity thing.
Yeah, this is how we get to consensus. This is how we get to consensus, right? If all of the scientists, if all of the studies are saying the same thing, that's how you get to consensus.
Okay. I'm assuming you're also reading the,
but I can
dissenting opinions of things.
If there were any dissenting opinions about this, I'd love to see the source for them, because I've literally seen none, and I've looked at this so many times. Here, I can even just go find a peer-reviewed source for you if you want.
Can you find a peer-reviewed source that would claim the opposite? Like, would you
I don't think that there are any,
in your opinion?
I don't know if there are any.
That is your position, is that there just isn't any?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were none from the last, say, 20 years. I mean, it might be like, so look, solar panels have existed for a long time. And so it might be the case that like 40 years ago, solar panels were so inefficient and we were so bad at making them that it produced so much pollution and they produced so little energy that, yeah, that actually, like, you know, natural gas was better. But like, that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry to get like a little bit personal or whatever, but I'm just trying to get inside of your own head here. Like, does that concern you at all that there isn't any dissenting opinions?
No, it just means that it's true.
Topic?
That'd be like, okay, so look, if I said, well, you know, it turns out that, I don't know, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, and you're like, isn't it concerning that there's no dissenting opinion about water boiling at 100 degrees Celsius? I'm like, no, because water does boil at 100 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I'm with you, but at the same time, like, okay, what if everyone said spontaneous generation was a thing, right?
Well, then
like,
we'd have to figure out why. We'd have to figure out why they say that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm with you there, but like, let's pretend that everyone was like spontaneous generation, 100% a thing. Anyone who says anything otherwise, honestly, we burn them or whatever. The Earth is flat.
That'd be pretty bad if we're burning people for dissenting. But the point is
that's what they did with the Earth being flat, right? Like they had a lot of people.
I don't think anybody burned anybody for the Earth being flat.
You don't think so? Hold on, can you actually
for the Earth being flat? No, of course not.
Yeah, I thought some people died for that. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I thought someone did. All right. Oh well.
Look. You can't say, oh well, it's weird that all of the scientists are agreeing on this, therefore it's less likely to be true.
No,
that's like crazy talk.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just going back to the original point that you made earlier, which is scientific consensus can be wrong.
It can be wrong. I think it's less likely to be wrong than a rando on the internet.
Well, there you go. That's why I almost wonder where do you go to get peer-reviewed sources? That's what I want to know. Where
Google
do you
Scholar
go to
usually.
Get that's just usually what you use is Google Scholar?
Yeah, if I'm trying to find something.
Okay, and when you go to Google Scholar, you cannot pull up one peer-reviewed resource that says maybe solar panels and wind turbines are.
No, I mean, but like I haven't searched specifically for that because Google Scholar's search engine is particularly good. Do you want to just do it together?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm totally down. And I appreciate
Google Scholar. We're on Google Scholar. What should I Google?
CO2 emissions.
Total. How about total CO2 emissions lifetime on wind turbines?
Production specifically. Producing
here's
wind
one.
Turbines.
So this is going to be the lifetime emissions. Yeah. So this is going to be published in. It looks like it's published in Renewable Energy, which is an academic journal.
Okay. Well,
okay,
so let's found one.
No. So this to be clear, this doesn't say that wind turbines are more than coal. I was just looking for any data on it, right?
I'm just saying we found one, which is better than what you were saying 5 minutes ago.
No, we didn't find one. I would bet money that this isn't one, right?
Okay, let's read it.
Okay, so despite the fact that the structure and technology of most modern wind turbines differs little over a wide range of power ratings, results from existing life cycle assessments of their energy and CO2 intensity show considerable variations. While the range of energy intensities reflect economies of scale, their scatter is due to discrepancies, blah, 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 blah. We just need the actual number. In addition, CO2 intensities vary with national fuel mixtures. Measure of life cycle energy or CO2 emissions can be employed in policy and planning, especially for comparative risk and sustainability assessment, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's go find the results.
Yeah, it's just a lot of filler words.
Conclusions. Well, no, I mean, it's not filler words, it's science, but we don't have to read all of it to read their conclusion. So even after normalization with respect to lifetime and load factor, energy intensity span more than one order of magnitude from 0.014 to 0.15 kilowatt hours in to kilowatt hours electric. So we have to, okay, so the way that they're quantifying it is precisely about how much energy it takes to make the wind turbine. They're not telling you how much CO2 is involved. They're telling you how much energy it takes to make the wind turbine, which is fine. Yeah. And by the way, I think I probably do have institutional access. Let me see if I can actually pull up the actual... I don't have institutional access. Bummer.
I really appreciate you doing this with me in real time. Like I'm actually like super fired up that I got on the call.
Okay, so we can here's another one. Here's another one. This was published in Journal of Cleaner Production. So, and here's some highlights. The paper presents a first attempt to analyze the life cycle GHG, greenhouse gas emission of onshore and offshore wind turbines with same capacity size. Onshore or offshore wind turbine has larger life cycle greenhouse gas emissions than onshore wind turbines. Onshore and offshore wind farms have much smaller life cycle greenhouse gas emission intensity than coal power. What does that say?
You were reading pretty fast. I didn't hear
Onshore and offshore wind farms have much smaller life cycle greenhouse gas emission intensity than coal power plants.
Well. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do, man. I think that just being pro-science is a really big part of being alive, a human being. I like the truth at the end of the day. I like just pursuing the truth. So I'm going to look at what Google Scholar, and it'd be cool to start reading some of these reports.
Yeah, you should.
Awesome, man. Very cool. Yeah, lastly, I had a couple other examples that I thought that there would be some situations where like maybe MAGA would be more pro. Definitely the whole, I don't want to just be called transphobic for this, but there definitely just seems to be a weird discrepancy in the back of my mind. People do say like men and women can have, I mean, obviously there is a biological element to this, no? Or are you just saying it's purely, it is purely...
The point is that gender and sex are different things. There's overlap, but they're different things. They're different categories of things. And in fact, that is like the scientific consensus, by the way.
Yeah. So what does the science people then have to do to say anything about gender specifically? Like
sociologists, psychologists, neuroscientists. These are all people that will the kinds of scientists that study things like gender. Of course, sociology is a science. Of course it is.
All right, Blitz. I am going to let you go, man. I had a really productive conversation with you. I still am just more disagreeing than agreeing on a lot of these things. I think that the political side of it is the thing that was really interesting to me that you would say, because it just feels so much the opposite way around. Like I think a lot of MAGA people look at the left and go, what in the world? These guys aren't following the science at all, right?
Yeah, but the science is usually like high school biology. It's not like actual science.
So are you guys?
You're cutting out again, by the way.
I want to do like an argument, an appeal. Sorry, I have horrible internet. Okay, my question to you specifically is in regards to like measuring up scientific fact versus scientific fact. Because you talk to the MAGA people, they're going to say the exact same thing, and it goes so far.
Oh, they never do. They can never actually cite studies, right? That's the relevant point.
Got it. So if you had somebody citing studies to you specifically,
if they could cite studies, if they could cite like consensus reports from scientific institutions, like there's an institution called the American Physics Society, or the American Physical Society rather.
Okay.
And the American Physical Society sometimes puts out reports summarizing research, and so like you'll see the same thing from like the American Association of American Association of Psychiatrists. So like you can get, like if you see these large institutions that represent like the entire like the society of XYZ field, and those institutions are making certain claims, that's a good representative of what the scientific consensus is. Individual papers are not always great representatives, because you can often find a paper that says whatever you want it to say, but sometimes you'll find like meta reviews or meta-analyses where they analyze a bunch of different studies, and then you can use that to come to figure out what the consensus is.
That's pretty cool. If MAGA, so if the Make America Great Again people.
Oh, you're cutting out again.
This particular, if MAGA started to quote these specific studies from these specific organizations, would you start to warm up to the idea of them being less anti-science?
As long as that's, I mean, like, if it's the case that like the general MAGA population starts to change their views in accordance with those things, and if it's the case that the politicians start to change their actions and change their policy prescriptions in accordance with those things, then sure, yeah. But like just having somebody bring something up that doesn't mean that MAGA's doing the pro-science thing.
Okay, so even if MAGA was to start to make decisions based off of these reports, specifically from these organizations, and against their more political advantages that they would otherwise receive by
then that would be a great step forward. Honestly, that'd be a great step forward, and I would love that. I would love if they did that.
Okay, it's really cool to hear that you would actually be willing to work with
I don't want MAGA to be anti-science. It just sucks that they are.
Okay, great. So maybe when some of these guests that are a lot smarter than me bring on, now I listened to the the Cecil guy. He was doing pretty well, except for when he started quoting himself in his own charts, and then we went
Well,
to those websites.
all of his information was coming from one guy who's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
So
But
I don't know if that
wasn't
was
the case.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, but if that wasn't the case, if he was specifically quoting,
Yeah,
from,
if he was
whatever,
citing he was citing like meta-analyses of like climate change climate change studies and saying like, oh, actually there is actually substantial disagreement amongst climate change researchers that indicate that, you know, only 40% of climate change researchers think that climate change is caused by humans. Well, then that would be something. That'd be great. But he wasn't doing that.
Would you change your own policies of what you believe if those, like,
Yeah.
is that interesting? Okay. So if the science, for example, and I know that I'm just dragging this out for way too long, but like if the science specifically said these papers specifically were like men are men, women are women, would you kind of
I would be a little
along with that
confused about that because that's like a linguistic prescription and not a scientific claim. But if the scientific evidence came out and said something like, there is psychological benefit to electrocute trans folks to make them turn back into cis folks. If this was like demonstrated in a laboratory or something that this actually is better than letting trans people be trans, then I'd be like, well, I want what's best for people, so I would just do whatever is best. I just don't think that would. I can't see a world where electrocuting people would make somebody would be beneficial to them. So
that's a pretty crazy hypothetical.
I mean, yeah, but like, look, I just want what's best for people who are experiencing suffering. So if like somebody has like significant like gender dysphoria, if there's a better way to alleviate their suffering, I'm all for it. I would love their suffering to be alleviated. Now it turns out it seems the best way to do that is to encourage them to transition, but you know, if it turns out that weren't the case, then whatever.
Yeah, you seem to be somebody who just really enjoys like empirical evidence. Like you
I do.
Really want to, yeah.
Turns
I
out
think
scientists enjoy empirical data.
Well, that's really no. I don't think that's wrong at all. I actually really like that. It's a little bit refreshing because like I talked to a lot of other people who maybe like are in philosophy or other kind of ideals, and they're like, nothing is true. You don't know anything is real. And I'm looking at the sky and I'm like, dude, the sky is blue. Like, and so we have empirical data to say that, right? We could get down to the molecule, whatever. It's cool to kind of meet somebody who's definitely more like.
I appreciate that.
Very factually minded. Yeah.
T-Gram, I'm gonna let you go because we're 10 minutes over.
Dude, I'm so sorry. Thanks for taking
okay.
my call, man. I'm gonna join again at some point in the future if you're down for it. That'd be fun.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, brother. See ya.
Bye-bye. Well, he didn't really bring the examples, but he, honestly, he was kind of good faith. So I'm actually not so peeved at him. I think that, okay, so here's my guess. My guess is that he is scientifically minded. Like he's probably like an engineering type or something like that. But there's some other policy. It's like either abortion or it's like something to do with like immigration or something like that, where he's like, where that just like makes his brain shut down. That's the only explanation I can think of for why he would be like pro-Trump or like MAGA, right? It's like something just shuts off his brain and he's like, well, I know that they're anti-science, but you can't have the Mexicans coming in. It's got to be something like that. I don't know. But he seems like a normal dude, and he, hopefully he could be brought over. So I'm gonna read some super chats. From Commissar Bonzi with the $2. As a moderate right, we do not claim that man. I'm glad that you don't. From Maddie Meister with the $2. Did you witness the Fowler Massacre of 2006? No, I was in school at the time, but I remember coming home and hearing about it. Was I in school at the time? I remember hearing about it later, like quite shortly afterwards. From Pensive with the $20 lava lamp donation. Thank you so much, Pensive. I do appreciate that a lot. Very, very generous and very, very kind of you. Always good to see you. From Atheist in a Foxhole with the $2. The broification of our youth on full display. I don't know what this was in context of. But I was playing RuneScape at the time, by the way. All right, we do also have some Cash Apps and the likes. Let's read those really quick. Just want to make sure I don't miss them. From Robert with the $2 for W Blitz. Always good to see you. Robert's been following and been supporting me for a long time. And from Shay with the $20 for your car, not that one, guys. Okay, good. I'll put it towards my car. I'm trying to get I need a new car, for those who don't know. And then we have from Scruffy Man sending $15 on Buy Me a Coffee. Keep up the good work to explain how science isn't a religion constantly. Yeah, I know. We have to do it all the time, right? We gotta do it. We gotta do it. And I think that that's it. So everybody, thank you guys so much for being here. We will be live again tomorrow for some more debates. But for now, I'm going to end the live stream. I'm going to go make myself some coffee, make myself a gluten-free sandwich. Make sure to follow along, subscribe, become a member, become a super fan, blah, 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 all of these words. If you want to see more of me, click on my profile and you can see all that lovely stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.